Once again, welcome to OSRPG Presents A Blades in the Dark Story, Episode 13. We are really excited to bring you Episode 13, and I am really looking forward to what we're going to see today, or tonight, rather, in the game. So I'm just going to start us right out with introductions. So why don't we move to intros? Angela, go ahead.
I'm Angela, also known as Gangrel Kitty, and I'll be playing Reaper tonight.
Hello, I'm Ryan, otherwise known as Voyce Ryleased, and I will be playing Martin MacCalister for you tonight.
I'm Doug. I'll be playing Ezra, also known as Blinder.
And I'm Xylus, and I will be playing Carver.
Awesome. And of course, I'm Michael, and I'll be your storyteller tonight. With that, I'm just going to put a shameless plug in here real quick. Definitely check out our YouTube. All of our episodes, or our previous Blades episodes, are on our YouTube, including the intro scenes. And right now, we are trying to push to get 100 subscribers on YouTube so that we can get our custom URL. Because right now, we have this very ugly, very strange URL that makes no sense. And we'd love to be able to have a official YouTube URL. So definitely head over to the YouTube if you haven't already. Hopefully, we can get a link in the chat. And you can just click that, hit the subscribe if you haven't done it already. And thank you so much for your support. Okay. Well, with that, let's tell a Blades in the Dark story. Last week, on episode 12, our cast of characters had reeled from a night without sleep for most of them. They had had a conversation about what exactly had taken place, and in somewhat vague detail, Blinder explained to them his true nature, in a sense. He gave them a glimpse, a tip of the iceberg explanation regarding what a whisper is and how Blinder being a whisper has come to affect him. After much conversation, the crew moved to how they would venture forward, how they would deal with the impending issue of a gang known as the Billhooks. They had been given a day to respond, and deciding to handle that issue quite early in the morning, they agreed that they would meet with the Billhooks. Of course, as fate often does, a surprise took the characters. A letter had been sent to Reaper that Marlene had received in secret. The letter spoke about Aldo, Reaper's dear friend and father figure, and how from his battle with the health issues that him being caught in the house fire caused, how he had finally made it through the fever, had healed almost fully, and had now woken up. The characters handled the interaction with the Billhooks. They found that Corin, the individual, the son of the leader of the Billhooks, Torval, was there waiting for them with a small group of people. They had their conversation, and it was resolved that, at least publicly, the Risen, our cast's crew, would seem to be allies to all the eyes and ears that were listening in the place known as Tangletown. From there, they moved through Crowsfoot to the night market, where they met with Virgil, hearing about what had taken place and what was going on regarding Aldo. After meeting with Aldo and Reaper catching up and realizing that, yes, he was healing and he was getting better, he was still very fatigued. Virgil spoke regarding the letter he had sent to Reaper. Apparently, Brill had been snooping around, or at least having his men snoop around. He was looking for something, or for someone. Virgil overheard a conversation regarding individuals that they might be looking for. A description was given matching that of Martin, and a statement was made regarding a pocket watch that he kept. Later, upon further questioning, they wondered what the connection was. And after a simple interaction between Martin and Aldo, in Aldo's fatigued and weakened state, he admitted it to Martin, with the last of his strength for that day, that it was not Skurlock that was looking for Martin, that it was not some unknown force, but it was in fact Strangford. Whether it was Strangford himself, Lord Strangford, the individual who sits on the council, the most wealthy and powerful man, we're unsure. But there is a connection, and it had something to do with the watch. Upon inspection, Martin realized that an inscription had once been written inside the pocket watch on the inner lid, and it said, "To my son, John." After which, our crew, not sure if John Strangford was a person or not, they determined that this would require further investigation. And as time went on and the conversation continued, they realized that they needed to refocus. There was a task at hand for them. Carver had been looking for a friend of his for some time, a man known as Connor, a man who had originally, in a sense, been a trainer of sorts, a mentor of sorts for Carver, teaching him the things that Connor only barely knew himself. Throughout the last many weeks, Carver had lost connection to Connor. He hadn't heard from him. The last he had heard, Connor was going to be moving, and since then he had heard very little. He found some strange remains at one of the places that Connor had been. A lot of questions were posed regarding what exactly had happened to Connor. And after weeks of investigation, Carver finally found something that Connor had left for him. A letter. In that letter, a time and a place was written. The second night of the monthly festival, in the Silk Shore, in a place called Onkenyat Park, which is like the Central Park, if you're thinking of New York. It is Duskfall's equivalent. It is the largest space of natural trees and wildlife. Such places don't generally exist. And so on the second night of this festival, we join our cast of characters. I want to check in very quickly with the cast, though, before we move to that exact moment. Was there any preparations any of you wish to do before you plan to go to the meet
Do we don't have enough time to take a nap, do we?
It's roughly the afternoon by the time you finished with the billhooks and went to meet with Virgil. It had been a few hours that it took for you to get from Night Market back to Pond Street, and then all of you sort of settled in for some time. You could get a very, very short nap, but it's not going to be enough to deal with the massive fatigue that you're feeling. That's going to require time and rest, much more than you're afforded in this specific instance.
Oh, I understand. I was just whether or not he's sleepy. But other than that, no. Yeah,
Reaper?
we'll take a cat nap for 30 minutes.
Sure. Okay.
No preparation.
Okay. Martin.
I think I'm good to go.
Okay. And we'll turn to Carver.
Carver will spend some time in his room, hiding assorted knives on his person
Okay.
and equipping for being out. Anyone who kind of walks in on him sees him basically just
You cut out at the end of your sentence there.
Okay, so anyone who walks in on him sees him basically gearing up for war.
Oh, for war. Okay.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
you
We've
mean-
been attacked in Tangletown, and I don't put it past anyone to attack me anywhere else.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So with those preparations done, time moves on. Blinder wakes up from his cat nap. People prepare their gear, and eventually you head to the Silk Shore. The travel, although timely, is overwhelmed by the sights and smells. Silk Shore is often a place of vice and celebration, and during the monthly festival, it is even more so. It is multiplied. The streets are packed with people. These streets are packed with vendors. People setting up simple sheets on the ground. People pulling up wagons and selling their wares from the back of them. All sorts of food suppliers in a sort of food truck fashion from wagons as well. And there are people pretty much everywhere you look as you travel through the streets. Hundreds of ships, gondolas, moving through the varied canals. And as you find yourself at the park, you notice a vast circus, in a sense. There are entertainers, there are fire breathers, jugglers, and people with exotic animals in cages. There are dancers. And as though with bated breath, the vast majority of the audience, although thrilled to see the entertainment, is waiting for one thing. It is waiting for the Sky Flyers. In time, as the light fades to darkness, they eventually see them. One person at first pointing up to the sky, saying, "Look!" Massive sparks fly off of these winged vehicles. These glider like something you've never quite seen before. It's almost otherworldly in a sense. It's something that you would only imagine in a sort of pseudo-apocalyptic world, perhaps. It is what we would imagine as a glider, but covered completely by fragments of metal, hanging from them almost like wind chimes, jingling, and there's a long chains off of them as well. And from the movement the momentum of their flight, they hang dangling behind them. Vast arcs of lightning shoot through the sky like you're in the midst of a summer storm. Brilliant pyrotechnics blast off of these metals, sending fragments into the air that burn away from the electricity. And as everyone watches in awe, our crew, perhaps watching also for a moment, but they eventually find themselves at the place that Carver had been told to meet. A beautiful radiant pool set into the park. For those of you that have not heard what radiant pools are, radiant trees and other plant-based life forms are, in the world of Duskfall, the sun barely exists. And so because of this, plants and such struggle to grow. But in time, they were able to find a way to allow these sorts of things to grow through a mixture of using what is known as ectoplasm. They spread it into the seeds as they are growing. And as these varied trees and plants grow, they grow into what we would imagine as trees. But all of them glow as though they've been painted with glow-in-the-dark paint or something of that variety. It is a ectoplasmic glow that even seeps from the very sap of the plants. And this light casting outward allows other life and other plants to grow naturally. This is how they farm vegetables and produce. They are heavily toxic, and so radiant plants are never eaten, but they are quite beautiful to the eye. You find yourself in a sort of table, picnic sort of area nearby this fountain. You can see the fountain very close by. It is a large fountain. There are radiant plants around it, a walkway in between the radiant plants and the fountain itself. And it is glowing with this sort of luminescence. Carver, you don't currently see Connor anywhere. Blinder.
Can we say that Blinder, a very long time ago, obviously, had actually been to this place?
Sure. It's a sort of a very common place that people try to travel to because it's the vast majority of radiant plants are sort of under lock and key in a sense because they're used to grow the produce of the city, and so they're kept safe in order to allow for those sorts of stores to build up. But these are, yes, so this is definitely a place that Blinder could have visited before.
Okay.
Did you have something more to add to that because you've been here before?
As we travel in and you know, like, because depending on the other characters' experiences, they may be showing excitement at the circus or the trees, depending on how much, whether or not they've been here before. But Blinder definitely looks almost like he's very lost in thought. You know, he's not present. You know,
Okay.
so he's just kind of, you know, he's like people watching and just kind of thinking.
Okay. Is there anything else from any of the other members of the cast?
Reaper is in awe and just staring like a little kid.
Okay. Martin, did you have
Martin
something?
is also, I was going to say, Martin is also in awe at seeing all the glowing trees.
Well, the rest of the cast is in awe of the glowing trees and the spectacle that this is. Carver is almost treating it as if it doesn't exist. He's looking for one thing.
Okay. As Carver sets his gaze, now looking, the spectacle not dissuading him from his task, he eventually sees at the sort of a section of the park that's set up in a similar fashion to what you might see in some very large cities. They have these little tables set up for games like chess, checkers, things like that. And as the vast majority of tables are very full, he sees on the very far end, in a sort of alcove of natural trees and not radiant trees, there is one individual sitting at a table, sort of hooded, and he does not seem to be looking around. Otherwise, he does not see, Carver doesn't see Connor anywhere. He doesn't see anyone that appears to be like him. Just this person in the distance is the only person whose face he can't see, whose expression isn't obvious.
Carver will walk towards that door, trying to see if he can maybe find a point where he can see the person's face.
Carver, is he approaching straight towards the person, or is he like circling around and trying to get an angle before he approaches?
He'll circle around and try to get an angle before approaching.
As he is circling, he realizes that the person has their head down, so the hood is covering the vast majority of their face. And unless they look up, at least for the time being, Carver can't appropriately distinguish who this individual is. The darkness of night setting the shadows even deeper, in a sense.
Carver will walk up behind the individual and place a hand on his shoulder and attempt to make him look up.
Okay. Carver approaches, placing the hand on his shoulder. The man looks back to him, and he sees a pale reflection of the man that he once knew as Connor. This man is tired, massive sunken bags under his eyes. His skin is pale. He seems fatigued, tired. His eyes are bloodshot. It seems like he's lost weight now that you're so close and able to get an appropriate read on the actual size of him that isn't covered by clothing. His beard is scraggly. His hair unkempt. He looks at you with wide open eyes, almost surprised.
Carver will sit down.
You sit at the place across from him, at the 2 seats, okay?
What has happened to you?
He leans down into the table and looks at the pieces, the chess pieces, set before the two of you. And it seems like he had prepared for a game, or at least someone had. He pushes a pawn forward and then looks up at you.
Is it a fresh game?
Yes.
Carver will push a pawn from the same space forward, mirroring his move.
Only speak when you move, he says as he moves another pawn.
Carver will move a knight, and he will say, "Where have you been?"
Connor will move his bishop out from behind the pawn and then speak. We don't have much time. There's only a few questions I can answer.
Carver will move another pawn in an attempt to elongate the game.
Connor will think for a long moment. Did you have something?
Yeah, while he's moving the pawn, Carver will ask, what's going on? Do you need help?
At that, Connor will move another pawn, and he will speak. We only have unlimited time until they realize that you are not just an individual that I am playing a game with.
Carver will move to take a pawn,
Okay.
and as he does so, he says, "Who is they?"
Connor will move the bishop to take the pawn that took his. And then he will say, I'm sorry to do this to you. If I didn't, they would hurt Clyra.
Carver will move the bishop to take the one that had just taken a pawn. Who are they?
Connor will move his knight out. I don't know how far up it goes, but whoever it is very connected. You need to get to Clyra and you need to hide her. You may not hear from me again. We have 2 moves left. I already see them moving in.
Did he move already?
Yes, he moved a knight out as though preparing for some future move. Basically on the opposite
Carver
side,
will-
he brought the bishop
Yeah.
out from. Yeah.
Carver will set up for a check by
Sure.
moving a pawn. And he will ask, is there nothing I can do to help you?
He will respond to that with a defensive move, basically sacrificing a pawn, in a sense, or preparing to sacrifice a pawn in order to end the check, in a sense. You can't help me, Carver, but you can help Clyra. 1 move remaining.
Carver will move in to try and check.
Okay.
Will ask, is there anything else I need to know?
Connor will respond defensively again. He moves the piece, but then immediately sets his finger on top of his king. They know who you are, Carver. He tumbles the king down. It falls and then rolls slightly on the board. He immediately stands up, turns, and walks a fast walk as though he's trying to avoid or get ahead of someone who's chasing him. And as he's standing up, he turns to you for a second, and then he says, "Run." And then turns and keeps walking.
Do I see anybody moving in towards him?
Yes, you see individuals. The crowd is packed with people everywhere. And as you start looking, it's hard to tell, but then you realize it. There are individuals dressed fairly nicely, as though they probably frequent areas of town, like the nicer parts of Silk Shore, or perhaps even the streets of Brightstone. They are not walking with anyone. They don't have family or friends nearby. They seem to be wading through the crowd coming this direction. You count 6 coming in at varied distances. Blinder, did you have something?
Since there's so many people here, how much of that conversation did we hear, and where?
Well, my assumption was that because Carver had implied that he was walking off by himself, my perception was that you guys were a ways away where you could see Carver, but you couldn't hear what was going on. You just saw them have you saw Carver sit down at one of the tables, have a conversation with a hooded individuals whose face you couldn't see. They started playing a game, and then all of a sudden it seemed like the game ended. The man stood up very quickly, looked back at Carver, and then immediately turned and walked off into the trees.
Can I, since we're at a distance, but within visual distance, while they're playing, I want to study the individual, like for details, just like clients, because this is the individual game in the necklace. So I want to really intently take down as much information that I can based on his visual appearance, the way he acts, like the way he's behaving, non-verbally. Any of that sort of anything.
Go ahead and do some sort of a perception-based roll, and I'll move over to Martin for a second. You had something, Martin?
Yeah, I was wondering if it were, since we are within visual range of Carver and this mysterious gentleman, is it possible from our vantage point that we can see people closing in on them?
You're not aware of the impending danger necessarily. So from your perspective, because you're not sure if there was going to be danger, Carver hadn't mentioned anything of that variety. He had just said he was meeting a friend. So I would say that you're probably not necessarily looking for it. It's one of those things that until you actually know what you're looking for, you may not even notice it. Like even Carver didn't notice the individuals at first, but he knew that he was looking for people coming his direction, right? In time, though, I will say, as the individuals closing closer and closer to Carver, it will then become obvious that they are here for Carver. Because right now, those that Carver had seen are still moving through the crowd towards him, right? So they may just look like people going about their day or something.
Okay, fair enough. I just didn't know if all of them had the kind of like focus locked stare that we could see from a mile off or something.
Not necessarily. And as I said, there's so many people coming and going, it's hard to keep track of one person because you lose them behind a crowd and then behind a thing. And then, there's plants here and fountain there, that sort of thing. I believe Blinder had something and then Reaper had something. Blinder.
I would like to make a survey roll, and I would like to make a devil's bargain, if I may.
Okay.
I would like to say that regardless of the results, the people, even though they may not know me, or know me by thing, they have definitely noticed me watching the conversation with Carver. The people that are either closing in or they noticed me intently staring at them. That's okay.
Okay. Sure.
This is gonna be bad, isn't it? I just made a bad devil's bargain. 5 and a 3.
Okay, that's a mixed success.
I hope it was worth it.
You notice that he seems, as I had explained to Carver, he seems tired and fatigued. He's sort of worse for wear, just like you are. The one thing, though, that you do notice, and it would only be obvious to your own eye, to others it would just seem like perhaps a strange faith or something of that variety, but you notice that there are markings on the insides of his palms, and you only see them for a brief moment when he sets his hands down at his sides and is turning, and then brings his hands back in and puts them in his pockets. You see strange marks on his palms, a symbol of some variety. You don't recognize the symbol, necessarily, at least in this moment, but you do recognize its obvious connection to, I would say,
Cultic.
Occultic
Esoteric.
iconography. Yeah, esoteric iconography. Symbols that have been associated with the arcane and supernatural. Yeah.
Do I get enough of a vantage to get at least a rough detail of the idea? Or
Yes,
do I
yes.
only
You're
see
able
it?
to
Okay.
see it. You just don't currently recognize it. Like, you're not really sure what the symbol means or what its purpose is.
Okay. Before I forget it, because things are going on, I'm gonna sit there and try to take out some chalk and try to draw it in my own hand. So, and then I try to commit that to memory real
Okay.
quick.
Okay, I believe there was other people that had things. Reaper.
Reaper is completely and utterly distracted. I
Okay.
don't even think she knows that Carver walked off.
Okay.
She's busy looking at the sky.
Okay. Anything else from anyone else before we turn back to Carver?
Carver's totally gonna get stabbed, and you're just staring off. You're like, "Hey, look, pretty lights."
Okay, back to Carver. What are you doing now, Carver?
Carver will hear the final word from Connor.
Mm-hmm.
Will immediately get up, turn another direction so that he's not going the same way as Connor, and will start to fastly walk away.
As Carver gets up, he notices on the lip of the table that was behind the board, because it's sort of a stone table, and then there's a lip that comes up, and then there's the actual sort of game board. As he stands up and sees over it, he notices that there is a small envelope sitting on the side that Connor was sitting on. Before he
He'll take it.
turns. So Carver grabs the envelope, probably stuffing into a pocket, I presume, or something of that variety.
Yep.
And then, as you said, he is turning. And which direction is he heading?
Away from the people who are coming towards him, but kind of off in a different direction other than Connor went,
Okay.
if possible, if there are avenues available for that.
Yeah, I mean, Connor left off into the trees, and there is a whole other side. You could go back towards the fountain. You could go off into a different angle into the trees. You could head back to the crew, which is sort of sitting towards the main thoroughfare over on the far side of all the other tables, where the sort of crowd of people are walking up and down the path that is passing by past the fountain further into the park and back towards the Silk Shore proper, in a sense.
He'll go a different path into the trees.
Okay. So he cuts. For all of you that are watching Carver, you see him stand up, reach over, pick something up, put it in his pocket. He turns like he's walking towards you, and then he cuts back and goes straight past where the other individual he'd been sitting with, Connor, was sitting, and he goes straight into the trees out of sight. The trees are thick and dense with life. You can see his shape moving in the distance through the trees, but you can't see him clearly to know exactly what's going on.
At this point, Martin is just going to try and keep an eye on him, on his shape through the trees until he loses him.
Okay, so is Martin going to walk away from the group so he can see him?
He's gonna walk a little ways to get a better vantage point on the trees.
Okay.
Kind of walking almost to where Carver went into the trees.
Yeah.
But just a little bit off as to not be too obvious.
To make it a little more clear, the path that Carver is taking is a movement parallel to the walkway that goes back into Silkshore. He's just taking that movement farther into the trees and into the wild growth, in a sense. So he is parallel moving with the walkway that heads back towards Silkshore. He's just, as I said, a distance off into the past the tree line, basically. And so you are sort of mirroring that, Martin? You are basically mirroring that motion? Okay.
Yeah, I'm mirroring that. But before I go, I'm like, Blinder, Reaper, keep eyes. Something's funny.
What
Carver went into the trees. Keep sharp.
Where? Oh, is the meat now?
I don't know. I just saw Carver got up from a table and walk into the trees. So,
Oh, he must be going to the meet then.
No, he must
be.
Why didn't you guys tell me?
Because
you look thoroughly enraptured by the trees.
I mean, I was. So what happened?
We could cover the details. He met with an individual, and the individual ran off, or walked off very quickly. Then Carver walked off as well. There's interesting thing. I saw something interesting, but I don't think this is the place to discuss it.
I'm gonna look where Carver is walking into the trees, and I'm gonna look back directly behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Do I see people moving toward him, or do I see anything out of the ordinary?
You don't currently, because there's a thick mass of people everywhere.
Okay. Okay. So I'll keep my eyes open.
Okay, so Martin goes walking off parallel to where Carver is. Is Reaper staying where they were? Is Reaper going a different direction? What is going on there?
Reaper's staying where she's at.
Okay.
Looking towards Carver.
Okay. And what is Blinder doing?
Judging the direction that Carver is heading, and the fact that it is parallel with Blinder would like to conjure up his memory of the place, even though there might have been changes since the last time he was here. It was a very long time ago.
Sure.
And try to figure out where he can go to sort of head him off or meet, because he's traveling away. So he's going to try to take a beeline to that point.
There's many canal ways through Silkshore, and most especially as you travel from the park to Silkshore proper, there will eventually be several canal ways. So most of those, unless he chooses to go down into the canal way and make his way across that, the assumption would be that he would have to cross at one of the mini walkway bridges sort of things that head over the canal ways in order to allow boats to travel freely through them. So you could potentially head to one of those locations, hoping to sort of cut him off.
Yeah, I think I'll also do. I was like, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to try to see if I can head off Mr. Carver. Okay. I'll tell Reaper and Martin that.
So you're heading to the bridge that is the most direct bridge from the pathway, or are you heading to like a different bridge of some variety?
I don't know. It depends on basically I'm going to try to take the most direct route to head him off.
Okay, so are you then planning to move much faster than Carver's moving, because he's currently just fast walking? So I presume you're running then, or something of that variety?
Yeah, like he'll look like you know,
Okay.
in between the crowd and things like that. He's
Sure.
not like trying not to attract too much attention, obviously,
Sure.
if he's somebody running, but like he'll look like and if anybody does seem to be paying attention, he'll try to feign like he's looking for somebody, and he'll call out even a random name.
Sure.
You know, it's like, you know,
I was just trying to
not,
point out that unless you were moving faster than Carver, it will be hard to get ahead of him since he's moving in a straight line, whereas you would be moving
Yeah.
sort of in a big arc or something. So
Yeah.
as long as you're moving faster than him, you will eventually be able to cut him off as he eventually gets to the end of the tree line and will eventually come to one of the canal ways that will cross then
Sure.
into more further into
Okay.
Silkshore in a sense.
Okay.
Okay. So once again, so Reaper, you are staying where you are. You see Blinder go, in a sense, fast jog. We'll say jogging. He goes jogging off, sort of parallel to the way that Carver's moving, but he seems like he's taking a more direct route, like he's trying to sort of cut Carver off. Martin is staying parallel on the pathway, from what I understand, and is sort of staying neck and neck with Carver, and Reaper is remaining behind. Reaper, I'll say to you that in time, as these motions are taking place, eventually you will see some individuals, the nicer dressed individuals, go walking off randomly into the trees as well, as though they are following Carver. You see 3 of them head into the trees, sort of separated by at least 10 or so feet between them, in a sort of combing pattern through the trees. And they seem to be looking in the direction of Carver specifically. They're not like enjoying nature. It seems like they're obviously looking for someone.
I will move in and start following them.
Okay.
Quite a ways away, just safe enough so that they don't notice it,
Sure.
but close enough that I don't lose them.
Well, if you head into the trees, there aren't as many people moving through the wild growth in a sense, so it will eventually become obvious that you're following them.
Okay.
If you move into the trees. However, if you stay closer to the path, you could easily seem like an individual that's just sort of enjoying nature around you. So that's up to you. How you'd like to
I'll
go
stay on
about
the
that.
path.
Okay, so
I'll stay on the
you sort of take the same path that Martin is taking, staying near the path, kind of moving parallel, keeping eyes ahead. Is anyone changing from their plan at any point in time? Or is everyone just sticking to the path they've currently established?
Not unless something dramatically changes, obviously, but
Okay.
Same.
Okay. As time goes on, Carver is moving through the trees. He doesn't see anyone ahead of him, but the growth is dense, so sometimes it's hard to see exactly if there might be someone around a sort of tree bend or something of that variety. He moves his way slowly, winding through this nature-esque trail. It's not an official trail, but it's sort of a space where people had moved through the trees before, or at least he eventually finds one. Eventually, though, as he's walking through the tree line and time goes on and the individuals are sort of slowly moving closer and closer to him, and Reaper can see that, and Martin can see that, and all of you can see that these individuals are now sort of surrounding Carver in a sense, like they're sort of forming a semicircle of space and moving in as though to try and push him into a trap or something of that variety, where he has nowhere really to go. Blinder eventually gets ahead of Carver towards the complete end of the tree line, where the path comes out to a canalway. Blinder can see down the pathway. He can see Carver heading in his direction, not too far away. And as all of you are following him, you eventually all come to a moment where Blinder, you hear a sound behind you, a click, and a hand on your shoulder.
don't kill me. Please. I give up. I surrender.
Carver, as you approach and end your sort of march romp through the trees, you come out and you see a man standing behind Blinder. A gun in his hand. He's holding it to the back of Blinder, hammer pulled. He has one hand on Blinder's shoulder to obviously try and keep him from running away or something. And as you look behind you, you see those other individuals sort of slowly coming up behind you.
Without even thinking about it, Carver is going to huck a knife at the guy behind Blind. aiming for whatever he can.
We're still in a crowd, right?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
You're not too far from the crowd. It is a short distance away, sort of down a little pathway that follows along the canalway. People will hear a gunshot for sure, and depending upon how far the scuffle goes, people may see it. But at least currently, you're not like surrounded by people. You're sort of in your own little pocket of space for a moment. So this is going to be a desperate roll.
Don't miss.
Because you are throwing a knife at a man who is standing behind Blinder and who has a gun to him. So even if you connect, the chance is that the gun will fire.
I'm just gonna get another character sheet right now. Gonna get that blank character sheet ready. I don't have any spare character sheets, so you better not miss.
Could
That's
Could
not the
I-
answer.
argue to use cloak and dagger? As I'm coming out of the trees and see this, maybe I misdirect and go around the tree and then huck the dagger at him to get the extra die.
No, because Cloak and Dagger requires you to use some sort of subterfuge in a sense, and
Or
you-
misdirection.
misdirection. But you walking up the path and then throwing a dagger at him isn't exactly misdirection in any way, shape, or form. It would be more of misdirection if you had walked towards him, seeming like you were going to talk to him or something and engage him, and then when he maybe looked away or blinked or something, then you threw the knife, right? That would be more of misdirection. Whereas since you're just walking towards him and throwing a knife, there's really no misdirection. Like you draw the weapon, you pull your arm back, it's sort of plain to see in a sense.
There's like a social element to it, right?
Sure, yeah.
3 6s.
3 6s?
Oh, God, Jesus.
What did you roll?
I used skirmish.
Oh, okay. Cool. A crit when it was needed. So
That's the devil's luck, y'all.
yes. So your hope was to do what with the knife that you were throwing?
Either to hit the gun out of his hand, or if his head was sticking out far enough to hit him in such a fashion that he wouldn't be able to fire the weapon.
Okay. I'll have it be known that throwing a knife at a gun is going to do very little other than potentially cut his hand. So just in the sense of, like throwing a knife at a gun, it may not necessarily disarm him. If you threw it at his hand, chopped off his hand or stuck it in, the nerves might, basically release or something, or you might even clench up depending on the wound. But I will definitely say in this instance that as you're walking towards the individual, you drop your hands down. Your blade, as it normally does, comes falling into your hand. Quickly, you snap it up, throw it. There's a moment of it flying through the air, Blinder's eyes wide, as this knife goes right past your head, Blinder, and you hear a crack of bone as the blade pushes through the man's skull, through the eye socket, partially breaking the bone, but into the brain. And then you hear a thud as the body goes falling dead behind you.
Blinder's gonna look back, right? Like that just happened. Turn around, or look back at the body, and then throw up.
Like on the body?
Like,
Okay. So Blinder turns, throws up. In that moment, all of you, well, not all of you, but at least Blinder and Carver need to escape. As you look back to the other individuals moving in, some of them are now finding openings, are also drawing pistols, and are now trying to fire them at you.
Running would be basically, if is Carver gonna run? Like Blinder, when he will turn around and be like, and then grab Carver. Briefly,
well, I'm going to presume that while Blinder is throwing up, Carver sort of has the initiative in a sense. So if so if Carver wants to do something like, for example, push Blinder, or grab him or move him or something like that.
Carver will try to get Blinder out of the way.
Okay. What is your plan for trying to get out of the way of the gunfire? You're very close to the canalway. You could jump into it. It might make it harder for you to escape, but from the initial burst of gunfire, it could make you much safer. Or you could head down one of the very pathways on either side. It's not going to give you as much initial protection, but it's going to give you more options of escape. So which direction would you like to sort of go?
I'm going to go for more options of escape / choke point.
Well, there's not really a choke point in a sense, because it is guns in an open space. As soon as you're heading towards the pathways, you'll then be in open space. There'll be a crowd of people, so presumably they won't be firing their weapons in that crowd of people. But at least in this specific moment, while you're trying to dodge, in a sense, or deal with firearms, you're still going to be heading in an open space. So for the both of you, I need you to do skirmish rolls or something of that variety, something that would make sense for trying to avoid gunfire. And because you are not going over into the canalway to get out of sight, and you are still in the open, it is going to also be a desperate action.
My luck has soured.
Okay.
So is mine.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if mine soured.
What did you roll?
One.
Triple ones.
Yes.
Oh lordy. Oh lordy. Okay. For a quick moment, I need to look something up. But for a quick moment, I'm going to turn to Reaper and Martin. So
should have taken a nap.
Reaper and Martin. What you see is Blinder go walking off, and then eventually a man turns up behind him. You can't see from your angle what the man was doing, but all of a sudden you see a motion from Carver. A knife hits the guy through his eye. He falls over dead. You immediately see now those individuals are moving through. They all draw weapons, and they start firing their pistols at Blinder and Carver, who are trying to run down the pathway back to the crowd of people, and they are taking heavy fire. Reaper and Martin, I'll first go to Reaper, then I'll go to Martin. What are your guys' plans? Do you have a response planned or something of that variety? So Reaper, go ahead.
I am looking at the 3 individuals you're shooting.
Yes,
Is that what you
three.
said?
You see 3
Okay.
people shooting, yes.
3 people shooting. Okay, so I want to pick off the one that's further back. Is that possible, or are they pretty much...
So you want
said they
to
were about 10
run
feet
into
apart.
the trees towards the 3 people?
Yeah, because I'm behind them. I was going to run toward...
I thought you were moving parallel with Carver.
I was following the 3 people behind Carver.
Oh, I see. Okay, so your plan...
Martin
okay.
was going parallel to Carver.
Okay, so Martin is parallel with Carver, and you wanted to stay behind and just follow them. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So at that point, your plan is to try and dash into the trees up behind one of them? The closest
behind
one
of them, and then and then pluck him.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I will roll a wreck. 2 5s and a 3.
2 5s and a 3?
Yeah.
Okay. That is a mixed success. You come up behind him. I presume you're grabbing his gun hand so he's no longer firing.
Right.
Okay, you grab his gun hand and start struggling with him. He's not able to fire it at you, but he does turn and punch you. As you grab the weapon, he turns and punches you. You're going to take the bruised level 1 condition. Also, Blinder and Carver, you are both going to take the shot in the chest severe condition, level 3.
Ooh.
Does that stack with the other condition? Because I have 2 level 1s, or do I just fill up the third?
So the way it works, and I'll explain this very quickly, is the way that your harm boxes work is you have 2 level 1s, 2 level 2s, and 1 level 3. The moment that something would do damage to you of a level, so like let's say you took another level 1, if you have 2 level 1s, it would immediately become a level 2. Right?
Gotcha.
If you, however, take another level 3 harm, it will become a level 4 and you will fall unconscious or die.
I would like to resist that if I could.
Yes, you can. This is a perfect time to try and resist consequences.
Was that 2 stress? Or well, that's a lot of stress, isn't it?
It is.
If I roll badly.
It is.
Well, I'd rather get knocked out than, because I only have 3 stress left.
What's that roll?
It's your resistance of I would have to be prowess because I can't really justify any.
Okay, so the way that it works is this is going to be a prowess because it is a physical action. You are going to minus 6 stress, and then you are going to roll a die and reduce the 6 by that number.
Okay. So I roll. You roll 1 die?
No, you roll your resistance, your prowess resistance, and then you minus the 6 stress by your highest die roll.
Oh, God. Can you devil's bargain?
No, there's no devil's bargain for this.
Oh, all right. Oh, okay. By the highest?
Highest.
Sweet. 5 and 1.
Okay, so you only lose 1 stress, you resist the level 3 condition, and yeah. So what we'll say is that shot that came at you, Blinder, you had one of these moments where you didn't respond to it. I'm not going to say you dodged a bullet, but there's going to be a moment where you turned, just sort of falling over yourself in that sick way, and you have a moment where the shot basically skins your chest and leaves a hole through your jacket and through your clothes. And so you're going to have one of those moments later on where you're going to have like a bullet hole right there. Like, how did I, that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah. And Carver, would you like to also resist, or are you just going to take the level 3 condition?
I already rolled it. I rolled a 5, 2, and a 1.
Okay, so you're going to resist. You're going to only lose 1 stress and resist the level 3 condition. And just a quick thing so that you all know, any condition that I ever put on you, you can choose to try and resist it. It just costs stress. If you don't have stress, though, you can't resist the condition. So keep that in mind. Okay. So, Reaper, you came up behind him, grabbed the gun, he punched you. You took the level 1 bruised condition. Did you want to try and resist that as well, or just let the level 1 go?
Sure. I can
Okay.
resist it.
Okay.
What do I roll again?
You're going to roll your prowess resistance trait.
Oh. I'm not muted. I was just talking the wrong way. Prowess resistance trait. Okay. Roll that.
You're going to spend 6 stress and then roll the die, and that's how many you can take off of that, basically, off of that 6. So you minus the highest die roll from the 6.
I got a 6, a 6 and a 6. A 6, a 4, and a 3.
Okay, so you lose no stress and you resist it.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, Martin, did you have an action you would like to do?
Yeah, I would like to Is it just it's just those three that are shooting? It's not five of them.
Yes, you only see 3 shooting currently, and one of them seems to be engaged in combat with Reaper currently.
Okay. I would like to run into the trees to the other two gentlemen that are trying to fire at my friends.
Okay, so you're gonna head past the one that Reaper's fighting and try to get on the other one. One of the other ones. Okay, sure.
Is it possible to reach both of them at the same time?
No, they're not close enough together. They're like 10 feet apart. Like I was saying, they're sort of in a combing formation. Like they're specifically trying to, sort of like a hunting party, how they try to push their prey into a certain direction so they're spread up. They have that sort of movement, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Am I close to a tree at all?
You're surrounded by trees.
Oh, good. I'm going to reach over, grab dude's gun, and try and use that as leverage to pull his arm and then his head into the side of one of the trees.
Oh,
like
sure.
I'm trying to bust his grill
Yeah,
out.
you're trying to blam him into a tree. Sure, totally.
Exactly.
Totally. Go ahead and roll a skirmish or wreck or whatever you feel is most appropriate for this combat. And of course, describe it in the fiction. That's always the big one.
Right. Oh, I'm rolling a skirmish because this is just a quick roll and shove his face into a tree.
Yeah.
I got a 6.
Awesome. Just 1 6?
I got a 6, a 5, and a 3.
Okay, so 1 6, a full success. And as I had said before, if I don't tell you a condition other than the risky standard, it is just a risky standard. So for you, Martin, it was a risky standard. You grab the gun, you turn him. We'll say you drop your knee to the back of his knee, having him crumple down, and you slam his head right into the tree. There's a crack of his skull, blood dripping down his face as he sort of like falls down. He's blinking his eyes. He's obviously taken quite a blow. He's definitely concussed, and maybe even potentially bleed profusely from that wound. And doesn't seem to be capable of firing the weapon at you currently as you sort of have it in hand, we'll say. And did you let go of it, or you just is your plan to sort of rip it out of his grip, or what?
It's slam the face, then while he's disoriented, disarm him of the gun.
Well, because you had a risky standard and you got a 6, a full success, I'll say you have a great effect based on that. So you're able to both slam him into the tree and remove the gun from his hand. We'll say you sort of toss it off to the side, in that Martin way, like you would do. Okay.
Exactly. I don't need this.
Yeah, exactly. With that, we'll move back to Carver. What's up, Carver?
I had a clarifying question, actually.
Sure, go ahead.
One that might inform my tactics.
Sure.
The pistols in this world, are they flintlock technology, or are they like revolver technology?
They're early revolver technology. Think of it like early 1800s, so they had like sort of Winchester style. But you also have to keep in mind that this is a different world and technology has sort of moved and been shaped differently. So the way that they go about crafting weapons and things of that variety, although you're not seeing it currently because these are sort of your run-of-the-mill goons, it would seem like, there is more of a, think of like steampunk technology. There's some aspects of weapons and things like that sort of function in that way, but these are simple early sort of revolver type guns. So they're
I was just wondering, like, mostly for danger level, because like a flintlock pistol, you only have to worry about one shot and then you get to move.
Yeah, these are presumably 6-shot, spinning revolvers kind of a thing. Yeah.
Okay. So after getting basically like grazed by the one shot, I look over. How many of them do I see?
You see one now that is not engaged with either Reaper or Martin, that is circling around to the pathway on the other side of the canalway, so you can't head back. And as you turn, you see the other 2 individuals that you had seen moving through the crowd and trying to cut you off towards the bridge. They don't have weapons drawn. There is also another thing that I wanted to describe, but I wanted to have the sort of the fast-paced energy of what was going on in combat be described here, is that all of these actions that were happening were sort of happening simultaneously. It was like, imagine the gunshot at the beginning of a race. As soon as that gunshot went off, people were springing into action. But at the same time, When those gunshots went off, there was a roar of the crowd, screams, and people are scattering. They are running in at every direction. It is absolute chaos. And so that is going on. So for those of you that might try to move towards the crowd, just keep that sort of chaos in mind, that it can assist you when it comes to potentially getting out of sight, but in the same way, it can detract from your ability to swiftly move through the crowd of people. So I just want to make that very clear as well.
Bearing that in mind, I'm going to try to the individual who is trying to cut us off from the bridge, who isn't engaged otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
How far away is he?
From you right now, I want to say he's somewhere in the neighborhood of 50-ish feet.
I'm going to try to close the gap, and I'm going to try to disable him.
Okay. I'm going to say that you spend. Oh, you're going to throw it, or are you running towards him? Pardon me.
I'm going to run towards him, get within range, because knives only have about a 30-foot range when you're throwing.
Dependent, sure.
Yeah, depending on, you know.
The man is still moving through the crowd. There's a huge chance that if you try to throw this knife, that you might hit an unsuspecting individual. Is that a risk you're willing to take?
No. Okay. In that case, I will take hold of the knife, and I will try to close the gap and get up with him melee, and then try to just disable him melee.
Okay. I'm going to say that because of that 50-foot difference, you're going to spend basically this entire turn moving towards him, but on your next turn, you'll be in close enough range that you can take action against him.
Absolutely cool with that.
Perfect. Okay, Blinder.
Blinder's going to reach down to the dead guy who is right behind him, right? Pick up his gun and move after Carver.
Okay.
Like, follow him. And if one of the
Which hand did you write the symbol on?
Probably left hand. He's right-handed, so.
Okay, what hand do you reach down to pick the weapon up with?
They'd be right-handed.
Okay. I was just checking.
Yeah. Oh, see if it gets smudged or something.
Yeah, I was gonna see. I presume because the guy died, so he has sort of a death grip on his pistol. You know, like when that happens, like your nerves go crazy, right? So I presume you have to reach down there with like probably your hand. I didn't know which hand you were gonna hold the pistol in, and I also wanted to see. Obviously, you're reaching down and touching the guy and getting the gun out of his hand, right?
You know, honestly, it's like because there's a lot of intense action here, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Blinder's sweating profusely. Sure. So maybe after this, we could. I could make a steady roll to see if I remember thing, but say it's smudged, but maybe and I have to recall.
Sure.
What it would be, because he would totally. I mean, he's not a combat person, he's not used to this type of violence. So he's just gonna reach out. He's gonna grab the gun. He's gonna kind of follow after Carver. If any one of them basically run up or look like he has a very clear shot. Because he's not practiced with revolvers either, he's going to try to shoot. Okay. It's kind of like hold his action for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a clear shot, as I had said to Carver as well. He reaches down, grabs the gun, pulling it from the man's grasp. And then you had said you're moving and following Carver, yes?
Yes.
Okay, just reaffirming that really quick. Okay, cool. Now back to Reaper. Reaper, you're still engaged with this individual. He had punched you. You still have a hold of the weapon, though, so he has not shot you with it. What are you doing from here?
I'm going for the jawbreaker.
Okay, so you're going to, as you have him, you bring around, maybe uppercut him in the jaw or something like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Reaper signature move.
Yeah, this is a risky standard.
I got a 6.
Full success. Awesome. So you have his arm, you wrench it, you drop down underneath the arm, bringing your fist right up into his chin, just getting all of that momentum into it. It hits his chin. You hear the clenching of his jaw from the weight. There's a break sound and a snap. You can see a piece of his tongue got chopped off between his teeth as he tensed onto it, and he just falls backwards basically onto his back, smacking his head as he hits the ground. It's luckily sort of soft soil, but there are roots and things like that, so there's a chance that he might have hit that root. But for the time being, he seems to be out like a light because generally when someone breaks their jaw, it's such a painful experience that your brain will usually just say, yeah, we're not dealing with that, and will just knock you out. So for those of you that are wondering, that's why it tends to be Reaper's signature move, because she doesn't like killing people, but she wants them dealt with, we'll say. So, yeah. So he is out like a light. Next, we'll move to Martin. Oh, did you have a follow-up to that, actually, really quick, Reaper? I presume from there, are you going to go and try and engage the third individual, like moving in that direction?
Moving in that direction if
Okay.
he's not already engaged or looking for other individuals.
He's moving around and cutting wide and is now noticing you guys. He just doesn't have a clear shot with his gun to either you or Martin. But he is now aware of you guys engaging his friends. So, but he is also sort of trying, you can tell there's this struggle in his mind where he's trying to keep his eyes on the prize, which you presume is Carver, but he's also aware that shit is going bad for his team. So there's this moment. But yes, as I said, we'll move to Martin. Martin, what are you doing?
Is it possible for me to close the distance between the third individual and engage this turn?
Yeah, it's only roughly 10 feet. If you move towards him, though, you will have to go through the open, and it will mean that he will have a shot on you. So I'm making you aware of that he will be able to shoot at you as you approach him.
Okay. Well, then I would like to push myself to use Not to be Trifled with.
Okay.
To get a burst of speed from the clearing to him that is faster, that kind of takes him off guard and takes his shot off, or makes him aim wild.
You're basically going to call upon all of your power and ferocity, and you're just going to like sprint burst into that opening. So basically, you see him coming around a large tree, and you're just going to run and jump and we'll say like shoulder check him as he clears that tree, basically just slamming into him, knocking him off his feet as though up there.
Yeah, just
something like that.
Kind of run up, and if I can do like the flying shoulder tackle.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining, was something that would catch him off guard, would knock him down at least. It may not knock him out, but it's definitely going to knock him down, and it's going to prevent him from being able to fire on you. So yeah, go ahead and roll.
Okay, using skirmish, and since I pushed myself, I get an extra die.
Yes, you do. You also get to increase the effect by 1 level.
True.
Because of the supernatural ability of the thing. You have the stress to be able to spend for this, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just double checking.
Yeah. With that expenditure, that takes me up to 6 total.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Well, I got a 5, 2, 2, and a 1. So
okay. That's a mixed success. I will say that because you are increasing the effect, you are going to increase the effect from what would have been a weak effect to a standard effect. So you will come bursting past the tree, catching him off guard, slamming into him, knocking the wind out of him for a moment, and sort of tumbling overhead with him, landing in a spray of your parts, like rolling over each other in a sense for a second, until you're able to, yeah. But he has not been able to shoot you. You have successfully engaged him and closed the gap, so that is perfect. Okay. Moving now back to Carver, I believe.
So Carver is now basically right on the heels of this guy, right?
Yes, you've now closed the gap to the individual. You are still both in the crowd, but the crowd is sprawling and going all sorts of directions. So it's
Carver
mayhem.
is gonna try to basically just take this guy down and lunge.
Okay.
Even if they end up on the ground and start getting trampled and whatnot, he's just that's his goal.
Okay, sure.
So I'm gonna use skirmish.
Sure. This is a
That's
standard
a 5, a 3, and a 2.
Standard position with a by the way, you should wait to roll until I give you the position and effect, just because it may change, like if you want to spend or devil's bargain or something like that, just so you know for the future. No, you're all good. So this is a standard position with a weak effect because there's so much going on in the crowd that it will be hard to grasp him without slamming into someone else, unless that's a risk you're willing to take in a sense.
That's a risk I'm willing to take to basically knock him off his balance.
Even if it means he might fire his gun accidentally into the crowd? Because he is holding his gun.
Think about that. No, that's not the risk I'm willing to take.
Okay.
Um.
Would you like to Devil's Bargain or something else of that variety?
Hmm.
What was the
Um,
roll again, real quick? You said
5, a 3, and a 2.
okay, so a mixed success. Okay.
Yeah. Let's Devil's Bargain.
Okay.
So Devil's Bargain gives me 1 die, right?
Yes, or what you could do, or you can increase the effect, right? So you could
Okay.
take the Devil's Bargain and then increase the effect from a weak effect to a standard effect.
So, how about I disarm the guy, but I end up in his grapple?
As the Devil's Bargain.
Yeah.
Oh, that he's got you sort of on the ropes, like you grabbed him, but now he's in control of the fight.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. Okay.
That is a 6.
A 6?
Yep.
Oh, you didn't need to roll because I presume you were just using it to raise the effect.
Increasing the effect. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not you
Sorry.
completely. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, so we'll take the Devil's Bargain. You grapple him. He does not fire his weapon, which was your hope here. But yes, as you had stated before, he is in a sort of dominant position because you were not able to knock him to the ground because of everything that was going on. So your next action basically will end up having an effect from that, whether it be that you have a lower effect again, or whether it be that you're sort of doing the Hail Mary action next round. But we'll see when we get there. Okay, back to Blinder.
Blinder's right next to him because he went and
yes. So he sees Carver jump into the crowd through a narrow gap, hits another well-dressed guy, and they are in a tumble. He takes the guy to the ground, but the guy falls down to his knees and has Carver in this sort of grab. For those of you that are wrestlers or are familiar with wrestling, you would recognize this as a sort of a wrestling move of some variety.
Oh. Okay. Difficult decisions. I'm just rolling to see because he can do one of two things in my mind. Odds is gonna
Could you before you roll? Actually, could you answer before you do your random roll? Can you answer a question for me very quickly?
Sure.
How frightened is Blinder right now?
Blinder's kind of actually terrified because he wasn't expecting to be right. The guy sneaking up on him completely like knocked him off kilter.
Okay.
And now he's having people being shot at him. Even with the Lampblacks in the fight with that was kind of like, they were kind of more or less in a dominant position.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of them were already fighting and ambushing people. So he was frightened doing that too.
Okay.
But he's been here. This is like third time. Yeah, I think he
okay.
He's terrified. He's gonna run up and he's just gonna basically.
Well, I have something I want to add here. Because of how terrified he is. So he is holding the gun. Is he pushing his way through the crowd or anything like that? I presume he's pushing his way through because he can't get a clear shot. There's just too much going on. Pushing his way through the crowd. Completely terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And then he feels a dull pain emanate from his hand. He notices that droplets of blood that had fallen from the man's head after he was cut and blood was coming down.
Mm-hmm.
Droplets of the man's blood had gotten onto his hand when he was trying to get the gun from the man. And he has noticed now, even though he can't really see it, that the blood is now caked his entire hand. And the shape that he drew is now written perfectly clear in blood.
Oh, no. Okay.
A brilliant flash of light. Luckily for Carver, he's head down, grappling into this man, fires through the crowd. And everyone who was looking that direction screams and starts yelling, "I'm blind! I'm blind!" The man who is holding Carver is equally affected. And as Blinder was staring at him, he realizes as the focus of his gaze, in a sense, this flash of light has burned the eyeballs from his sockets.
Okay. I gotta take a second.
Hold up. There's still more.
Oh, there's still more. He's like,
Blinder is going to take the level 3 severe badly burned condition unless he would like to resist it.
I would definitely like to resist that.
Okay.
I don't know if I can, but well, I mean, I can. I have 2 stress left, so this is not a good. I think it's a resolve or prowess, or what's the resistance attribute?
This would be a. I'm gonna leave it up to your choice here. I'm gonna leave it up to your choice because there's a physical resistance that we could say, but there's also a mental resistance to the pain that's going on. So I'm going to leave it up to your decision of either it being prowess or resolve.
I'd say resolve because he's definitely used to dealing with pain, even though he's terrified of it.
Sure, yeah.
So it's a 5, 3, and a 2.
Okay, so you minus the 6x5 and only spend 1 stress. You resist the level 3 severe condition, but I'm going to let you know that no matter what, you are still going to take a level 1 condition from this.
Okay.
Okay. And it is going to be the level 1 condition, Scarred.
Scarred.
Yes. And what you realize is that the mark on your hand is no longer blood and is now formed what would have been a 3rd-degree burn in the shape of the symbol, which, by the way, so that you're aware of what the symbol looks like, it looks like a circle with a sort of diamond shape that touches one edge of the circle, goes halfway to the edge of the circle, and then pokes out the bottom of it across your palm.
Okay.
But the symbol is now burned into your hand like someone had branded your hand with the symbol.
It's extra bad too because I already had 2 level 1s and that was
another so now that becomes a level 2. So it becomes a level 2, yes.
I don't know if that makes the scar even more edgy, but you know.
Well, I mean, you can still heal the actual damage of the scar, but I'm going to let you know that it is still the tissue, the scar tissue and the remnants of the shape will always remain.
Okay.
At least visually, you know what I mean?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Carver. Thanks. Anyway, so with that, the guy's blind, and I'm like grasping my hand, looking, because I assumed I probably had gone close to where Carver and them because I was trying to follow.
Yeah, you were basically right behind him at the edge of the crowd. The man that was holding Carver's eyes have burned out. You don't notice anybody else's eyes have done the same. Like there's not blood coming out of their eyes, but they are all standing there like dazed. That are just like, I can't see, like they were staring into the sun too long or something. And eventually some of them start like being able to see, it seems like, and they're slowly sort of moving away and trying to get out of whatever the fuck is happening in this area.
Okay, so I'll knock the guy over right then,
Oh yeah, at that point his eyes burned out. Basically Carver sees a flash of light that that sort of washes over him. He can see it brightly. And then he feels the man's grip go limp, and Carver is able to respond, but we'll get back to that. We are then going to go to Reaper, I believe.
All right, how far am I from man 3?
Oh, at this point you're you would be following up behind Martin, who just shoulder checked the guy and knocked him to the ground.
Right. Is he still awake though?
Oh yeah, he's still conscious. He just he wasn't able to shoot Martin, and Martin is sort of engaged in a tussle at close range now, right?
Okay, do I see any other men anywhere?
None in the trees.
Okay,
looking over though, because all of you will see it, even you here, there's a flash of light all of a sudden. You're not close enough that it blinds you, but there's a flash of light in the darkness, as though someone just lit off a firework or something at close range, just blah. And then when you look over, kind of reeling from the sudden brightness back to darkness, you see over in the center there is an opening in the crowd now as people are funneling away from it. and you see Carver standing presumably over a man or about to get up from the grasp of a man, and Blinder is standing there clutching his hand. Martin, I'm going to say you're too far engaged to actually see that, but you do see the flash of light. So, Reaper.
I'm going to beeline towards Carver and Blinder, and I will be screaming behind me, "You good?" to Martin.
More a statement than a question.
Yeah.
You good?
Oh, yeah. No, I got this. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, with that, as Reaper's heading over, we'll say you spend the turn heading that direction. And Martin, it is now your turn.
Okay. At this point, I would like to wrestle with the man on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of trying to knock him out, I'm trying to grab the gun and twist it back on his hand.
Breaking his fingers.
Break fingers, remove the gun from his hand.
Sure, yeah.
That sort of thing. I'm not going to push myself or take... yeah. No, I'm just going to roll a regular skirmish.
Okay.
662.
Oh, crit!
Woot!
In the way that only a person who is trained in the fighting pits of Duskfall can, violence is second nature to you. And in that moment, as you wrestle with him, he grabs the gun, pulling it up. You slap it to the side, following into a move, crunching his fingers as you quickly twist his wrist. And then from there, you circle around, throwing him to the ground. And we'll even say from there, you... at this point, he's not going to be able to move his hand. He can't focus on the fight. And so you quickly end it by just an elbow to his face. Blah! Knocking him out.
Sounds pretty good to me.
So you are left there standing over the man. Reaper's approaching the thing. Blinder doesn't see this because he's clutching his hand. But Carver, as you stand up, you see the last man in the party of 6 off in the crowd, and he looks at you, and he just keeps walking backwards and disappears off into the crowd.
Finally had one smart one.
Smart man.
You don't want none of that.
So, is there no way for me to track the guy?
You could attempt to. It will be hard, but you could attempt to.
Yeah, I would like to attempt to hunt this guy.
Okay. Reaper, did you have something?
I would like to attempt to gather the gentleman with the burned out eyes.
In what way?
Oh, I'm going to pretend that I'm taking him to the doctor to go get medical treatment.
He's like bleeding out in shock, like dying.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah.
I guess I'll leave him there.
Like, oh, you're gonna die, man.
He just got penance stared by Blinder, man. He's not in a good way. I'm nerding out over that, by the way.
Judgment eyes.
I got a 3 and a 1 on my hunt roll. I don't think that's gonna do it.
You're going to try and follow him, but the chaos of everything that's gone on is just too much. And what was once a massive crowd, think like a parade of people, has swiftly turned into a tumultuous sort of wave of individuals just running and fleeing as quickly as they can from this space, trying to get to some sort of safety or out of sight or to a different place. Yes, Carver.
Did I by chance recognize the guy as he kind of looked at me?
No. You did not recognize him.
At this point, I'll go.
Oh wait, actually, you've been at Clara's pub, yes?
Yeah.
You do actually recognize this man. You recognize him as one of the young men that the last time that you were visiting was there with a few other friends.
Okay.
You didn't know his name, and he wasn't a regular. He was just one of those people that sort of faded into the background during the time that you spent
I'm going to
there.
go to the others, and I'm going to tell them that I need to get to Clyra as fast as possible.
Who?
Clyra,
Who's that?
you've met her before. I've taken you to go see her.
Oh,
I don't think we could really discuss this here. We should find some place to. We should leave immediately and
blind, and the last person ran away. I think this is the safest place for us to talk.
um
Oh yeah, the cops.
Um,
So yeah, we should probably go.
Martin,
Yeah, smart.
I just wanted to say I'm gonna the last gentleman who I broke his hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rifling through his pockets. I'm looking for tattoos. I'm looking for any kind of insignia or any kind of gang thing I can recognize. You know, to see if I can trace this back to somebody or if he's just a random schmo.
He has no tattoos. He has no markings. He has no wallet on him. No identification. No descriptive accessories. So no rings, necklaces, earrings, pocket watches, anything of that variety. He's wearing nicer clothes, as I had described. Not like a tuxedo or anything like that, but like the sort of clothes that one might wear to go out on the town and enjoy themselves during the evening, sort of evening wear, out and about wear, that sort of thing. But yes, other than that, he had some extra ammo in one pocket, and that's basically what's on him.
All right. Well, I'm taking the gun and I'm taking the extra ammo.
Sure. Anyone else with anything?
I'll take a gun and whatever ammo I can find on the guy, and I'll immediately just say, I have a place I need to go. I'll meet you back at the hideout.
I thought we were going with you.
Yeah, we're going with you, unless I'm taking Blinder home because you look like shit.
his hand is like steaming, right? He's like, no, I'm fine to go with you.
You're gonna die. No, you're going back.
Reaper, go with Carver. I'll take Blinder home.
Okay.
We really shouldn't split up like this. But we need to leave here, regardless. And he'll grab the pistol, and he'll take the pistol that he still has in hand, pocket it, and then rip a piece of cloth out from the guy's. He'll rip a piece of the guy's jacket down, rip it in half, tie one.
We'll say you cut it because the material is very nice but very rugged, so it's not going to rip easily. This isn't ratty clothes. So yeah, we'll say you have a boot knife or something. We'll say you have a knife and you just cut a piece of it out.
He does carry a knife around with him. So.
Sure.
Or you could just take the one out of the other guy's skull.
That guy is back. He'll rip off a piece of cloth, wrap it around the dude's eyes, and then wrap the rest of it around his hand. And then, he'll be doing that as he's leaving the scene with the rest of the characters.
Anything else from anyone?
Wanted to do one other thing really quick. Sure. Still to the one that I am currently pilfering pockets of, that I pilfered the pockets of. Hey, who sent you?
That guy's unconscious.
Is he? Are any of them awake?
No.
Or able to speak? No?
No.
Fucking useless.
They're either dead or unconscious.
That's why I was gonna take one with us.
You could choose to take one with you. That's a fair point.
I can't take the jaw broken one.
Do you really want to kill somebody in the basement?
We don't have to kill him because that's why I was gonna take the guy with no eyes.
That guy's basically going to be dead in a few minutes.
Blinder looks back because he's started going down the alleyway away from the scene. He's like, witnesses, blue coats, let's leave.
And with that, Martin will trot off, kind of helping Blinder.
Yeah.
I will say that the one that Martin knocked out is the one that's the least damaged. So if you were going to take anyone, it would probably be the one that Martin has.
Yeah, let's take that guy. Come on. Help me.
God damn it. And I start helping her.
Okay, so being in Silkshore, your fastest way to actually escape is not going to be on foot. It would actually be the gondolas below. So the four of you, I presume, will meet, discuss a plan of how to escape, and then decide upon gondolas or by foot,
Yeah.
or what is your idea?
Definitely gondolas. We're gonna have to smuggle a body.
Okay. Carver.
I would like to, as we're making our way down, try to disguise myself to make it harder to be discovered again if any more of these guys show up.
Okay. So we'll say you grab a extra jacket that was left on a thing, you grab an extra hat that fell off someone, you maybe pull a piece of cloth out and kind of wear it like a scarf to cover a portion of your face. You all head down to the gondola. The gondolier, you do end up heading quite a ways away from all the chaos because there are no gondoliers waiting nearby where they heard gunshots. You head through the alleyway until you eventually basically reach the end of the pathway you can take by foot until you either cross one of the bridges into Silkshore or head down to the canalways. Heading down to the canalways, you eventually find a gondolier that's like looking off in the distance like, what the hell is going on? The gondolier looks up at you and says, oh, your friend looks pretty messed up.
Yeah, we gotta take him home.
Oh,
Didn't you hear the shots?
yeah.
I got trampled by the crowd.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Man, well, come on in.
All right, thanks.
And so the five of you hop into the gondola, and then you head to Dunslow? What is the plan?
Looking at Carver here.
Or are you heading to Clyra?
Is Clyra's bar in Dunslow?
No, it's in the docks.
Okay.
But you can head through the canalway and then circle back to the docks, basically. Think of it this way. The docks are north of Silkshore. So Dunslow is south. The docks are north. So you would basically be heading kind of east into the big inlet where your Tangletown is, kind of. And then head up the thing until you eventually get to the docks. Does that make sense?
I'll look for a different gondola.
Oh, you want to like swap around a few times and things like that?
Basically so that these guys can get back to the base and then I can go to the bar.
I'm going with Carver.
Okay, so Reaper is going with Carver. Blinder and Martin, are you coming with as well, or are you heading back?
No, yeah, we're heading back with our POW.
Okay. And Blinder is as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll say you guys hop into the gondola, go a ways down until you find some more gondolas that are far enough away from the chaos. The two of you hop out onto the docks, paying another gondolier. You make your way to the docks, and Martin and Blinder start heading back to Dunslow with their prisoner. And I think that is where we will go on break. We found our characters reeling from that experience. They quickly left that space. They found a gondola, they traveled a distance, and then our characters separated. Reaper and Carver jumping into another gondola and paying them to head to the docks, where they would find themselves eventually at the Barge Tavern, a tavern that Clyra is the owner and proprietor of. And Martin and Blinder heading back to the hideaway, to Dunslow, with one of the captured assailants unconscious and within their grasp. So in this, we will move to Reaper and Carver. The gondola has arrived, you traveled through the docks, and you find yourself at the Barge Tavern, a familiar sight. And it is much the same as it's always been every time you've come by, Carver. There are regulars inside. It seems like there's far less people in the streets, it being the time into the evening that it is. And with the festival going on, you presume the vast majority of people have headed that direction and still have not returned. But there are still a few of the regulars inside the tavern. Clyra's sitting behind the bar, preparing some food and serving it out to a few of the individuals at the bar. She notices you as you enter and waves.
I take a look around the bar and I see if I can see any of those same people.
Most of the ones that you had seen are either dead or unconscious, and the one who escaped is definitely not here.
Then I will walk up to Clyra and ask to speak in private.
Sure, she says as you come up to her and ask that. Let me just finish a few things. I'll meet you in back or upstairs.
Doesn't matter, but it is urgent.
Okay. So she finishes serving up the plates. You head sort of to the back kitchen area like you have before.
I'm going to keep an eye on Clyra during this whole thing.
Okay.
I'm going to try to stay as hidden as possible, but I'm going to keep an eye on anyone who comes in and out and make sure that if anyone approaches Clyra that they're not hostile.
Sure. So we'll say you head back to the supply room, the room that you had interacted with Connor in some weeks before. From its vantage point, you're able to see the vast majority of the bar. You can sort of see Clyra, but you can't see into the kitchen or anything. She finishes serving the plates. Did you bring Reaper with you, or is Reaper somewhere else inside the tavern?
That's up to Reaper.
Reaper will keep her eye. Oh, sorry. Reaper's gonna be in the tavern and keep an eye on the comings and goings so that
Okay.
they can have their meeting.
Sure. Okay. So Reaper stays out in the bar area. Okay. So, as I said, Clyra serves a few individuals at the bar and then eventually, wipes her hands off, that sort of thing, and then heads back to the supply room where she saw Carver walk off towards. She steps inside, presumably moving past you because you were close to the door, and then shuts the door behind her, sort of awkwardly. Something...
There's no easy way to say this, but you're in danger.
What do you mean?
Connor's gotten into some stuff. I don't know what. And I've been trying to track him down. I
Okay.
met with him earlier tonight. He's different somehow, but he has alluded to the fact that he may have done something that may put you in danger. And he has asked me to take care of you and hide you away until we can figure out how to deal with the problem.
Wait, why would I be in trouble?
Because they're after Connor, and if they know how to get to Connor, it's through you.
Why are they after Connor?
I don't know yet. I'm trying to find out, but right now the priority here is you.
So what am I supposed to do? Like, what are you?
I need you to come with me and our crew, and we will keep you safe in the meantime until we figure out how to deal with the threat.
So just close down the tavern or something?
Don't you have any employees?
Not really. I've never really had need of them.
We can figure out the logistics of the tavern later, but we can finish out tonight, and then you'll need to come with me.
Okay, where are we? Where would we be going? Like,
I don't know if it's safe to tell you here. So he'll lean in
mhm.
and he'll whisper, "We have hideaway and done."
You have a hideaway where?
Done.
You need to talk louder.
Dunslow.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna take your word and trust you because you've never, led me astray or. And sure, I'll come with you for a few nights, but I mean, it all seems really strange. Why would people be after you? Or after
No,
Connor?
why would people be after you?
I don't know.
I have a letter or some thing that Connor has left me. I don't want to open it until we're safe. But if there are contents in there that will tell us what's going on, then I'd rather wait until we're safe to figure out what's inside of the envelope.
I mean, why don't you?
The threat is serious.
Yeah, but I mean, if Connor left you a letter, maybe it would explain more. I mean, you have to understand my place here, Carver. Like, I haven't seen you in a bit now, and then you just show up, and you seem way out of it, and you're saying that I'm in danger because Connor and someone's after Connor, but they're gonna come after me or something. And I'm not saying that it's not real or anything like that. I'm just saying you're not giving me a lot to go off of. You're just saying I should leave and go to some other place and leave my business just closed or whatever. I just need more information so that I know what's going on, because right now I would tell you maybe you just need to go get some sleep. Maybe this is all in your head.
Did you hear about the shooting that happened earlier today?
No?
I'm surprised rumors haven't made it this far.
So that you're aware,
We were.
Carver, that only really happened less than an hour ago. So rumors aren't going to spread that fast. But they will spread eventually.
I apologize. I thought it would have taken us longer to get here.
No, like I said, you were right next to the district and you were by boat, so it only took you really like 30 to 40 minutes to even get over here, right? So, yeah.
Mm. Connor was being followed when I met up with him earlier today. He didn't have much time to talk, so he just mentioned that I needed to get you to safety. At that moment, I looked around, and there were men, which Connor had told me would be coming for him. He said that they knew who I was, and these men chased myself and the crew and attempted to kill us. Barely made it out alive. Some of us are injured.
Carver,
Threat is real.
if men were after Connor, why did they chase you and try to kill you? Why didn't they chase Connor?
Because Connor was seen with me.
You think they were trying to kill you because...
I think Connor knows something, and I don't know what that is. I know he's tracking something down. But whatever Connor knows, It's dangerous information.
Okay. If you think that I'm in real danger and that's the same thing that Connor thinks, then sure. I would like to know what's in the letter, though.
I'll pull out the letter and open it.
Oh, okay. Are you reading it now, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we can read it now.
I was asking Xylus if Carver is reading it now, or if is he reading it aloud? Is he reading it to himself?
He'll turn so that Clyra can also read it, but then he will also, as quietly as he can, read it aloud.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Okay. It says, "My dear friend, I'm sorry to have done this to you. We all pay prices for our crimes. I looked into what had happened to you, and I'm sure that the individuals that are seeking you are now seeking me. The truth is, I don't know how deep this goes. I don't know the names associated with it, but I'm going to keep looking. For now, it must seem like I am your enemy, but in time you will realize that I am your friend. Keep Clyra safe. Find Mortis. Your friend, Connor."
What was that last bit?
Keep Clyra safe. After that?
Slightly before that, leading up to that.
To sort of paraphrase, he was basically saying that he looked into what had happened to you, and because of that, the people that were looking for you are now after him. And that the general vibe you get from what was written was that he made contact with him or something, and that now he's on the inside. And he offered you up in order to, in a sense, increase his connection to them. To prove himself to them, right? Is the sort of thing you're getting here. And he's apologizing for that. And saying that it may seem like I'm your enemy now, but eventually you'll see that I'm still your friend. And then at the end it says, "Keep Clyra safe. Find Mortis." And then
Find Mortis?
Yes, find Mortis.
Okay.
It is
that
spelled,
was the part that I missed.
Oh, was it? Okay, because you had said before, not after. Because it is written, the name is Mordis. Mortis.
Does Mortis ring a bell to you?
You're saying it's the Clyra, I presume?
Yeah.
Never heard the name.
Well, it seems I owe you an apology.
Why?
Because if all of this is because of what Connor was looking into for me on my behalf, then I'm the one to blame for this predicament.
Clyra puts in a hand on your shoulder, getting close to you, sort of laying her head against your shoulder then, after that, as you're both looking at the letter, and she's like, "Connor didn't have to do this. He chose to. Because he cares about you. This isn't something we have to blame you for, Carver. This is something you suffer with. And we're your friends, so we'll suffer through it with you." And she actually turns and like sort of full on hugs you.
And Carver will embrace her. Just kind of like in,
Yeah.
the moment.
Yeah. After that, after you guys have finished the hug, she, gives you a look like a, kind of like, you got this. Starts to turn away. And she's like, turns back to you. I'll get some things packed. I'll close down the tavern in a bit. I'll let the regulars know I've got some errands I need to run, sort of last minute. And they'll understand. And then we can get out of here. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Reaper, the one out there. She's gonna help me keep an eye on you, and then we'll take off to the hideaway.
Okay. So, we'll say that Clyra comes out eventually, and, Carver introduces Clyra to you, Reaper, and she says, nice to meet you. And you guys have a bit of small talk, etc. But eventually Clyra says, well, I've got a lot to do. And so she goes, to finishing chores around the tavern, and then eventually she heads up to her bedroom, presumably to get stuff ready. And so generally speaking, she's sort of preparing for this eventual trip that's going to take place where Carver and Reaper, she offers you some food and some drinks and things like that. You guys keep a sharp eye on the place, I'm presuming. But otherwise, time will pass for that while Clyra's sort of preparing to bring the tavern down. So with that, we will transition now to Blinder and Martin. You've arrived at the secret passageway. The gondola dropped you off some distance away. You carried the man on your shoulder to your secret canalway entrance, I'll presume. And you find yourselves now moving through the tunnel, a narrow space, dragging this man by the jacket across the dirt of the tunnel. And because it is a narrow space, it's hard for the two of you to work side by side. And so it's been a bit of a struggle getting him through this pathway, as it were. But you're managing. I presume Martin's doing quite a bit of the work, and Blinder's sort of supervising.
Blinder's like trying to pitch it, with one arm, because he's kind of at this point now cradling his wound.
Okay. And Martin is doing his level best to make it look like Blinder's actually helping.
Sure. So eventually you drag the man inside the hideaway. He's in the larger room now. Is there a specific place you're planning to take him?
I was thinking one of the bedrooms. We can use mine. Or actually, let's see. We'll put him in the washroom.
Do any of these doors lock from the outside?
No.
So where
none of the doors actually lock either.
Okay.
You need rope.
Yeah, I was gonna say get some rope and tie him up to make him immobile as possible.
Sure.
If I can get our physiker to look at his fingers really quick, just to make sure that they're not completely out of joint.
So, quick clarification there. Are you then planning to take the man upstairs amongst the other people? Mm-mm. Or are you planning to bring Virgil into the secret passage?
Oh, that's it. Yeah. I'll look at his fingers real quick. I'll look over his hand quick. And even though I'm not a physiker, Blinder will look to see if the damage is going to cause any further complications. If it looks like
they're broken and out of place. They have to be set into place. Otherwise, they're going to heal messed up, and that guy's going to have a messed up hand for the rest of his life, basically.
Okay. But it doesn't look like there's like a wound that's going to fester or anything like that, right? Like,
nope.
Like there's broken bones.
It looks like it's mostly internal, probably.
Okay. I think for right now, let's I don't understand why we brought him here.
because we need a place to question him. Because I'm going to question him.
Question.
Yeah, one of our crew almost got took out tonight by 6 dudes with guns. I'm going to find out who and why.
Well, I suppose we'll probably have. Let me see if I can. I think I may have an idea. So Blinder's gonna go and find some rope and other means. And he's going to basically using his tinker, going to make it just a rough contraption, tie him down. Make it to where he can not be moved or move very easily.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Also in my equipment is a pair of manacles and chain, I believe. Yeah, manacles and chain, which I will be using in full effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say that, you have the ability to get gear. Like, it's not like a backpack that you carry around with all this stuff on you.
Yeah.
It's the idea that when you need something, you will have planned appropriately ahead of time. And so it's easy to presume that you guys are able to find ropes, or you're able to find some extra manacles. Yeah.
That's what I was aiming at. Is that we could bind him, no problem, but putting him in an area where he can't have a whole lot of mobility if he were to get out, escape his binds or anything like that. That's kind of what I'm aiming.
Yeah, totally. You set him in the washroom. You tie him to a chair, tying his wrists and arms to the arms of the chair, his legs to the legs, tying his waist to the waist of the chair, we'll presume. So he's more or less fastened down. And you set him into the washroom, probably moving the basins out or whatever the case may be. Obviously, in this secret underground hideaway, there's no windows or anything, so you obviously don't have to worry about him escaping. There's no lock on the door necessarily, but if you wanted to spend some time, you could fashion a lock of some variety,
like a bar or something. Yeah.
You could set something up there and apply that, and then put like a piece of wood there or something.
That's what I'll focus my efforts on. I'll just do it one hand and just I think this should be fine. For right now, he's still unconscious.
For the time being, yes.
Fine. I'm going to stay down here and wait for him. You go see the doc, get that hand looked at, and if you would, bring me down something for dinner.
Sure.
Because I'm going to be here for when he wakes up. Because we're going to have a conversation which may or may not include lots and lots of screaming.
Well, one wouldn't want to work up a hunger or appetite while torturing. I mean...
Hey, you said it yourself. We need a body, right?
That was for a reputation. Have you ever been interrogated, tortured?
Not for information.
Well, I doubt if you had, you would have the same viewpoint and do so candidly. I will. It's enough. It's not obviously my area of expertise.
You're a voice chime in. There's ways to make someone talk without having to hurt them. Sound of Mercy's voice.
Oh, Mercy. So good to see you're here.
I followed you guys, but you slipped off into the crowd.
Yes, we had a complication. He holds up his hand.
I wasn't necessarily invited to the thing, but I was worried about you guys.
Appreciated.
Most definitely appreciated.
I'm going to go see the doctor. This is starting to, well. And he just walks off. Like he's about ready to say something more to Martin about the man, and then just walks off mumbling to himself.
Mercy, as Blinder leaves and is out of sort of earshot, Mercy says, I understand what you're talking about, Martin, but there's better places to do this. You understand that, right?
Like where?
We're surrounded by empty buildings.
True. This was just the first place I thought of.
Yes, but I mean, even though there's stone surrounding us, noise might escape. People might wonder. It could draw strange questions. Also, there's the chance that I'm not saying he's going to escape, because I presume we're being diligent, but if he does escape, we don't want him leading people back here.
True.
We could find there's a empty shop across the street. Or even
Yeah, I
in
was
a
gonna
back
say.
alley.
Yeah, I think we can do that. I'm gonna go let people know that we're moving him. Could you watch him for a second?
Sure.
Okay. And very quickly, Martin will run upstairs and find Blinder. Hey, Blinder.
Yes.
Mercy had a wonderful point about the delivery, and we're going to move it before he wakes up. And
Okay.
yeah, we're there's a small shop across the street. We're gonna take him there.
Okay. I will once you are undoubtedly he will need depending on how easy he is to question, need a doctor. I will send Virgil over there when you are finished.
Hey, Blinder. Despite what you may think of me, I don't enjoy hurting people. I really don't.
I didn't I'm not. There's a difference between enjoying it and understanding what you are doing. It is not the your. I do not question where your motivation is coming from. I'm just questioning whether or not you are expressing empathy. But it is not obviously. This is a decision that has been made by more than myself. I will not protest anymore. We will, if you wish, we can have more detailed conversation at a later. My hand is quite hurting now.
I was just letting you know that we're moving.
Good.
And Martin will turn on a heel, go back and grab up old boy, and as stealthily as possible make it to the building across the street.
I'll say Mercy assists you. You remove him from the chair and carry him over there. Martin's able to do so pretty easily. You have to drag him back out the tunnel awkwardly, but once you get to the end of the canalway tunnel, you're able to just shuffle him over his shoulder and make your way around to the building. Mercy walks ahead of you and picks the lock to the door and opens it up and motions you inside.
Definitely goes inside, and if we can find a chair in there or something to the equivalent,
Sure.
I will reaffix him to it.
There's a few bits of leftover furniture inside the building. It seems like squatters at one point lived here, and they sort of had a few chairs around, sort of a burn barrel sort of thing.
Okay.
You know, there are pieces of wood and scraps of metal that you presume were probably from the ghettos or something like that have been laid over the windows in order to block light. There's blankets, things like that. So it's obviously sort of a squatter's space, which works well for you because your hope is to avoid people seeing inside and or hearing what's happening inside. Although it won't be completely soundproof, it'll at least help dampen some of the noise. And because you're on the far edge of Pond Street, only the businesses close by will probably hear you, and the vast majority of businesses, depend upon the time may not even be open, so those people may not even be present for whatever is going on. So you tie him down inside the building across the street. That looks like at one point it was probably like a general store or supply store, clothing store, or something like that. It has shelves at different places as though it might have held clothes, but they're all emptied, most of them sort of knocked down and things like that.
After we retie him down, I grab a couple pieces of fabric and start working on my stitching.
Okay.
And I'm just waiting for him to wake up. I got to do something to fill the time.
Yeah.
But while stitching, we'll look over to Mercy and say, so I don't know how much comes as a surprise to you. This would be the first time that I've ever actually really interrogated somebody who threatened my life. And I'm not sure how to do it. I can threaten him with pain unless he tells me what I want to know. But I don't think that's going to go very far.
Problem with torture is that none of the information is perfect. Eventually, if you torture someone enough, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. Maybe even lying or making something up. If you're going to get information out of this guy, you can't do it through pain. You're going to have to find another way.
I look down at this dude. Does he have either a wedding ring or the suntan line of a wedding ring?
Yes. He does not have a wedding ring on, but he does have the... I will say there is a very faint line. Very faint. Because
right.
as a reminder, the sun is very few and far between, so you're not really going to have as many tan lines necessarily.
Well, just as a point of note, like you'll have an impression from where the ring sits.
That's what I was basically going to say next, was that there is sort of an impression there, rather than there being a tan line. There's more of an impression in the skin, as though it once was there or may have been there.
Well, hey, Mercy. I think he's got a spouse. That's something we can use.
Martin,
but we don't know who that is.
I think you're missing the point of what I'm saying, is that you don't have to use pain or even threats to get your way. There's other ways to get what you want, because the point is, when you're using pain or you're using threats, you eventually have to just cause pain to them. And as I said, once you cause that pain to them, they may just tell you a lie in order to get you to stop. I'm thinking, like, what if we get him to speak freely? Like we give him something, like a drug or something, right? Loosen him up.
I don't have any drugs on me. Not anything that would cause someone to do that.
We're in Dunslow. We could walk down the street 30 minutes and probably find 10, 15 people hawking wares on the cheap. I mean, it may not be good stuff. It's not stuff that's going to be like a sweet ride all night, but I think it'll work for what we're trying to do here.
All right. I guess I got to go find some people then, don't I? Do you mind keeping an eye on him while I go look?
How about, I've spent some time here. Why don't you keep an eye on him? Because you look like you could use the rest, and I'll go grab you some stuff.
If you would, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I can do that.
And thank you for the idea, because the only one I had to go with was hurt him more.
You gotta start using this more rather than using this.
Take Blinder with you. He knows about drugs.
Whoa, Reaper's here? What the fuck? You went over to the squat building, we'll say?
I thought they were still away.
Yeah, they are. That's why I was confused. I was like, what is happening? Oh, you were saying the ghost of Reaper.
Actually, you know what, Mercy? Blinder might still have some of his stuff on him.
Blinder does different stuff.
Is it different stuff that we're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that stuff would probably help him because he's probably going to be in a great deal of pain. So, I mean, that would help with his pain. We could probably get stuff like that from Virgil. At least low-dose
Probably.
stuff. Not like what Blinder takes, but, you know, like low-dose stuff.
Well, I was just shooting a shot at something that would make him kind of loopy.
Yeah, that's what my thought is. I know of these... there's this fungus that people will eat. My thought is give him some of those. Let him trip out and then start asking him questions. We might lose him for a bit. I've seen people when they get really deep into it, they have no idea what's going on. But eventually, once he becomes a little clearer, I feel like it'll deal with his inhibitions, right? So maybe he'll be a little more straightforward. And he doesn't have that threat, right? He doesn't have the violence or the pain. I mean, because he's already going to be in some pretty intense pain.
Right, which also means you might have to ask him questions unless he can't recognize me with the drugs in his system. Or do you think those drugs would be enough?
I don't know.
Well,
I'm going to go tell
keep...
Virgil to come over here and check him out, though. His hand looks pretty messed up.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. And, yeah, I'll keep an eye on him.
She gives you that friendly sock on your shoulder and then turns and walks out. Blinder inside with Virgil. You guys just have a little sort of chit-chat, small talk sort of thing. He doesn't really ask any deep questions. He doesn't even ask where the wound came from. He just looks at it and he's like, "Yeah, that's pretty strange."
Yeah. Yes. I think. How far up is the burn? Like the burns go? By the way. Like
Well,
I know the scar and everything.
You resisted.
Right
you resisted the effects of the burn, so you're not burned.
Mm. Okay. Oh, I just have the scar.
Yes, it's just it's tender. We'll say for the sake of role play and stuff like that. It's definitely painful and it's definitely tender, but it is not as bad as it would have been if you hadn't resisted the condition.
Okay. Does Virgil just look at the hand, or does he ask me to roll up my sleeve, or?
Yeah, sure. I mean, he would tell you to let him see the space and all that sort of thing.
Okay, but Blinder will hesitate for a moment, and then he'll start pulling up his sleeves.
Is there something that he's hesitating about? Like, what is the?
Yeah, because of his scars. His scars extend pretty far down his arm.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So,
are those things that Virgil will see during this time?
Well, any doctor who sees it will probably comment about it, I imagine.
No, that's what I'm asking. Though. What I'm asking is...
Yeah, he would probably see it if he rolled up his sleeve.
Okay, that's what I needed a clarification of. Will he?
I'm just saying he would probably roll up his sleeve, and then, as he rolls his sleeve, it'd become discernible, because it's not like a set plays, you know what I mean?
Sure. He looks it over. He's like, well, you put a salve on it, but really that's just going to take a few days to heal. Maybe make the pain go away, but that's just time.
I'm okay with pain. It's I'm starting to get some mobility back in my hand. Swelling.
He steps over to some stuff that he has. He took the other, not to say took the other bedroom, but he's been in the other bedroom, it seems like. At least that's where his stuff has been. And so, because there's the 2 bedrooms upstairs and then the bathroom. And so he's been in the other bedroom. And Eunice has been basically in the room that Aldo is in. So he meets you in that room, of course, and you're sitting there in a chair. And so he reaches over to some things that he had brought over in the time you guys were gone. Yeah. And pulls out this, little tiny bomb of some sort of salve and opens it up. And it's a very thick medicinal smell, immediately herbal and things of that variety. And he grabs some of it and then rubs it on your palm. And it doesn't immediately have any sort of effects, but over time it starts to feel cool and a little tingly. And it helps to sort of soothe the burn, feeling that you're feeling. Think of like aloe, basically, right? The way that
Yeah.
aloe sort of reacts with a burn, right? It's the sort of feeling that you're feeling. It helps, but as he's pointed out, it's probably just going to take some time and etc.
Thanks. The I'm the we were attacked. There's an individual who Martin is questioning. I know he had his hand mangled. Some of his fingers were broken and such. He'll probably need some medical assistance.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Do doctors in this world, is there like a? I'm not even sure when the ethic, like confidentiality ethics started in our own real world, but is there like a Hippocratic confidentiality ethic amongst doctors generally? Is that like a known thing, or is it just kind of like,
Would presumably depend on the sort of doctor they were and where they learned. A sort of sawbones sort of doctor probably doesn't have any sort of ethic code or anything like that. They just do the work that they're paid to do.
Gotcha.
Whereas in a more academically trained doctor would perhaps have some sort of oath that they take in or something of that variety.
Okay. Okay. I know that, well, doctors I'm used to dealing with have generally keep health matters between the patient. Is this something that you generally practice?
Sort of doctors you've seen before.
Well, ones who are more able to more legally operate. You take my mean academically minded individuals.
Sure. Well,
not
I
disparaging your practice, of course, but because I am completely grateful. I'm not familiar with sort of less than legal means, if that is practiced.
Well, I didn't learn in no fancy school, but I keep to myself, so ain't no one else's business.
Good. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm gonna go see if I can get a couple moments of sleep. And I'll leave.
Looks like you need it. And
Yes,
at that point, as you're leaving, Mercy's coming up the stairs, and you hear her have a conversation with Virgil, and then he it seems like he's grabbing a few things, and then he follows Mercy back out, and they head out the front door and seem to be crossing the street. Reaper and Carver arrive some time later, we'll say. Much time has passed. The individual still hasn't woken up. Virgil came over and looked over the man's fingers, sort of setting them and putting them in like little sort of splints in a sense, several hours and things of that variety. Mercy went off into Dunslow, and Reaper and Carver arrive around that same time, much later in the evening. With Clyra in tow, a bag of Clyra's personal effects, and you guys come walking up to Pond Street. It's still very dark. There's a lantern off in the distance. Okay. I presume you guys are taking Clyra in through the front door, and not the secret entrance?
Through the front door, yeah.
Okay. You guys head inside, and you see, I presume Martin is somewhere inside, or is he down in the hideaway? Oh, no, not Martin. Sorry, Blinder. Because I know Martin is still across the street.
Blinder's rummaging around the kitchen.
Okay, so then
and he's got a bandage now on his hand.
I thought he was I thought he was sleeping.
He said he was sleeping.
Yeah, we'll say he took a short nap, but as I said, it's a few hours later because you guys, it wouldn't have taken you a long time to travel back. It's a matter of they were waiting for Clyra to finish closing down the tavern. So that took her a few hours to get everything in order. And then, time has just sort of passed. So people have had dinner. The guy is still unconscious, as I said to Martin. Mercy went off. Virgil fixed his hand. Reaper and Carver arrived, that sort of thing, right? Several hours later. And, yeah, so we'll say Blinder's inside, at the table in the main room eating, or did you say he's back in the kitchen in the back?
He's rummaging around for trying to put a teapot on, basically.
Oh, sure. So then you'll see Eunice is sitting in there, Virgil as well, in the front room at a table. You also see two big guys who you recognize, Reaper, as some of the fighters that Marlene had sent. Yeah. You recognize one as Clem. He is the larger guy. That's his real name, but then he has like a fighter name he goes by, but generally with other fighters, he just goes by Clem in like this sort of circumstance. And the other guy's name is Marvin. And they're definitely good fighters. They're some of the, not to say like as seasoned as you, but they are definitely not rookies. They're in their prime. So, they're late 20s, early 30s kind of a thing. Have, tons of fights under their belt. And they seem to be enjoying the food that it seems like Eunice has put together for all of them. They're enjoying a few drinks. Another table has been sort of set up, and they're sitting there, and they cheers to you as you enter in.
Blinder will come walking out, put this teapot and set it down, and cup and some sugar. He looks very uncomfortable around so many people because now like there's quite a few people here. In our little, it's like, Reaper.
Good morning.
Yes. Looks around at the rest of the people. It's like, seems like we're gathering a little commune.
We are. This is Clyra, and I'll motion over to her. She will be staying with us as well.
You see a woman, probably in her mid-30s. She is a brunette, Acarosian, somewhat fair-skinned. She has the regal bearing of a person that you presume that grew up amongst wealth, but she's dressed in a way like she's been living amongst the common folk for some time. And she seems to take care of herself. She doesn't have that sort of confidence that you see from like Mercy or Reaper. Nonetheless, she seems somewhat afraid, but is trying to veil it or hide it. But she definitely seems to follow in with Carver, at least trusting him. There's some timidness to her, but she is forthright and in a way welcoming. Like she's not, you can tell that she's not upset or anything. She's just a little confused by everything that's going on.
Lady, would you like some tea?
Yeah, I think that would be great. Yeah.
I tried offering it to Clem, and well, it's good to have somebody who appreciates such things.
Clem and Marvin are the Bash brothers, as they're called, even though they're not actually related. They do two-person duel fights. One of them has sort of a mohawk thing going on inside, shaved and the hair coming down. And it's just sort of laying there. He's a little bit smaller, and that's who Clem is. And Marvin is a little bit bigger, bald head, tats all over him. They both have quite a few tats and things like that. But Marvin has like this big like beard, a goatee beard that just sort of comes down into a braid. Whereas Clem is basically just 5 o'clock shadow. You see there are scars all over him and stuff like that. They seem like pretty surly looking guys, but they're constantly smiling like they're just happy. Like they don't have a care in the world sort of a thing. And so when you say that to Clem, he just sort of looks at it and he's just like, meh. And then he, cheers his mug a little more.
Yes, yes. Hey, ma'am. Well, do you like honey? Like,
Yes, please, says Clara.
and then I'll like engage her in just small chit chatter about the tea.
Yeah, she'll just, talk about tea. She'll talk about like what sort is your favorite. Have you ever tried any of the blends out of Night Market? There's some really nice ones there, and things like that.
Does she while she's doing that, Blinder is going to try to know it. Does she seem like she has very Epicurean sort of tastes? Like from somebody who might have been raised around like very higher quality sort of food.
Yes.
Okay.
And it seems like that was presumably her upbringing, and like now that she seems to have become more solidly rooted and is more down to earth, right? But you can tell that there's this sort of that idea of like when someone is trained in a way their entire life, that it still sort of is there, this sort of regal bearing, the way she holds herself, this poise. But there's obviously some years now of experience with being like living a real working job or something like that with your hands and like getting in there, right? So there's that sort of aspect to it.
Okay. I wasn't do you please sit? Are we? I imagine we have a great deal to discuss. I did not know where you want to do that. He says to Reaper and Carver, and Martin's here too, right?
No, Martin is. Yeah.
Martin is engaging our guest.
Oh, where is the package?
The package. I nearby. Looks at everybody. He's like across the street.
Okay.
Tyler's just looking around like he has no idea.
Carver, would you show our guest their digs, please?
Eunice sort of looks at you guys awkwardly like, is there more rooms here?
There will be.
Oh, okay, because it's just the 2 rooms upstairs in the bathroom.
Well, I guess we're going to have to kick you and Aldo out. I'm just kidding.
She's just like, oh. Sort of trying, like, you can tell it's like an awkward giggle, but then she's like, it's that sort of like, please don't. That sort of thing.
Carver will look over at Eunice and say, we have accommodations offsite.
Oh, okay. Cool. I just didn't want, people sleeping on the floor or whatever. I mean, we could pull out more cots. I mean, this place isn't an actual business, so it's not like a big deal if people sleep in here, I guess,
It's quite fine. I'm homeless. Or at least I was until recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't seem like you're homeless. Like you guys own this place, right? I mean,
well, I was until a very short time ago, and I'm very used to sleeping on floors.
probably.
But
get
why
some
do it if you don't have
cots
to?
and things.
Actually, I find that a bed can sometimes be very uncomfortable days.
Do you want me to bring a cross and some nails?
No, it's just that you get used to. Anyway, this is. We have a great deal to discuss.
We do, and we should.
The door opens and Mercy walks in. Hey, everybody! Who are what?
I know,
Hi.
right?
Is that Clem? Mercy says as she points over. Is like, oh hey, Mercy. She walks over and shakes his hand. This is what was this guy's name? She says to Clem. He's like, oh yeah, this is Marvin. He's like, oh okay, nice to meet you. Comes back over. There's a little sack, a little pouch, and she sets it right down in front of Blinder. Doesn't say a word about it, but just sets it down in front of him. Kind of like while everybody else is engaging and talking and stuff, she does it kind of sly. But I'll say that if members of the crew want to notice it, they'll notice it. Just a small little baggie sort of thing in front of him.
He'll like do that. It's like the.
It is a day or two supply of your personal choice, shall we say?
An 8-ball. Okay, gotcha.
Chris doesn't do an 8-ball. I thought his thing was opium. I thought he smoked opium.
It's like
They still sell 8 balls of opium.
yeah.
Well, there you go. I guess. Okay, I didn't know that.
8 ball is the measurement of weight.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. It's also it gets its name from
I thought the 8-ball was anyways, we're talking about drugs and things.
Sorry.
We'll just say it's your vice. She gives you a day's worth of your vice, and
Okay.
slips it to you on the sly.
He'll look at
She just
Mercy
she pats you on the shoulder and like gets in close and whispers in that sort of like she got you a gift, but is trying to keep it weird. And she whispers, she's like, "You look like you need it," and she gives you that serious face. And then I have that thing for Martin, so I'm gonna go chat with him. Unless you
I'll
guys
follow you.
Unless you guys want to try some of these. She says she gets
Hell
these
yeah.
wide eyes. I don't know if that's a good idea, but maybe we could try it.
Let's do it.
Sure.
No, I think
It's a horrible idea.
that is
Nobody asked you, Blinder.
Reaper's her own
I
woman.
would-
If she wants to do this, she can do this, Blinder. So why don't you just...
we
And then she
don't-
shushes you. She puts her finger on your mouth. Okay. And then Mercy starts walking out.
I'll follow her out.
as she's walking out, I'll be like, Tangletown.
What does that even... She just keeps... Oh, you hear her say as she gets outside. Oh, yeah. Okay, fair. So, Reaper, you follow Mercy over to, across the street to a few buildings back, into a back building. Mercy walks open the door and sort of pops it open, basically, and walks in. And you see Martin is sitting inside, working on some sort of sewing project. A lantern has been set out. The man is tied. Everything's been moved from the center of the room away, and the man is tied to a chair. You can see there are splints and things on his fingers. I will also point out to you, Martin, that when Virgil showed up, there was no small talk. He didn't say anything. He didn't comment. He just walked in and he said, "Oh man, that guy's fingers look fucked up." And then he went to work on them. And then afterwards, he just sort of gave you that sort of tip of the hat thing and just walked out. Like, this is not the first time he's walked into this sort of situation. And didn't say a damn word about it. And then just went back over to the other place, you think, presumably.
I'm so glad we have him as a friend.
And so Mercy comes walking. She's like, "Oh, damn, Virgil does good work."
Damn, he's still asleep?
Yeah, he's still
You-
asleep. I think I got him good.
It broke his
Yeah,
hand.
I think so too.
We can wake him up, though, she says. And
Yeah, I'll wake him up.
Mercy pulls out this little, like a smell assault thing, if you've ever seen those. Like those odor things. Puts it
Yeah,
in
the
his nose
ammonia
and-
capsules.
Yeah, and breaks it. It's not like the newer, fancier ones. It's like an old version of that. So it's like a little canister or something. She opens it up, puts it in his nose, and then you see him sort
Damn,
of calm awake. Like he's
I was
way
gonna
out of it.
slap him.
Well, we can say you do that too. She puts it and that doesn't work at first, and he's sort of thing, and you slap him, and he's like, his eyes shoot open. Say both happens. Why not? Mercy
Good morning.
has a bag, hands it to Martin, and as Martin checks through it, you see a whole bunch of mushrooms. Oddly shaped, very thin, long mushrooms with little tiny caps. Give him like 2-3 of those, maybe. He should be good. And Reaper, if you want to have a good time, I'd say eat one.
I'm eating one.
Yeah, so
But
you
I
reach in and
should
grab
have
one? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Okay.
Right, I'm gonna take like 2 and like half a stem with a cap, so 3 caps,
Sure.
2.5 stems,
Sure.
and kind of go over and just kind of pop them in dude's mouth and help him chew.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna chew
And-
these, and you're gonna swallow
Yeah,
these.
you're gonna chew these and you're gonna swallow them, and it's gonna
He's
make
gonna
you
do
feel
that.
better,
He's like, and
and it's gonna make you feel good.
he chews them, and then eventually Mercy comes over with a glass of water and like feeds it, gives him the water to drink it all down. He's like, shit, tastes like shit. And well, by the way, the mushrooms do kind of taste like shit. And Mercy's like, yeah, give him about an hour and he'll probably be ready. I know I'm feeling good, and I took one like an hour ago. So, I mean, you gave him 3, so that guy's going on a ride tonight.
Yeah. Well, Martin will sit back with the rest of the mushrooms and pick his sewing back up and start going back to work.
I would
You
say
see him
one
just
of
kinda-
us shouldn't have any mushrooms. Are you going to be the sober one, Martin?
Yes, I will be the sober one.
Thanks. And then she'll reach in and grab
Yeah.
another one, pop it into her mouth.
Hey, don't eat them all, because he might need more.
I got a big bag of them.
I'm gonna follow Mercy's lead and pop another one too.
This is your first time eating mushrooms, Mercy says.
Yeah. I'm going out with a bang.
It's not that bad. Just, I'm going to say this at the beginning, though. Just keep in mind, you're here to have fun. And we're going to have fun. Okay? And no matter what you think, just remember, I'm here. And we're going to have fun.
Okay.
Can you remember that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It seems weird for me to say that now, but in like 2 hours, just remember that.
Okay.
Okay. So you guys wait. Presumably you go and get some food and things like that. Does Blinder and Carver come over? Do you guys go over to them? What's going on with that?
Blinder.
Because I know you guys said you wanted to have a conversation. So sorry to talk over you,
We
Blinder.
do
please.
need to have a conversation, but we knew that they went over to. Well, at least Blinder knows that they went over to interrogate.
Yeah. Well, they went over there to start the process, but they said it was going to be
process.
a few hours.
But no one communicated him what that process would entail, so he's still under the assumption that it's Martin basically beating the crap out of somebody. So he's gonna grab Carver while they're interrogating. It's like pull him off to the side. It's like they're interrogating Mr. one of the individuals. I think they're over in this building, but after they are done, we should talk about this. And he'll pull back the bandage. This was on your friend's. The symbol was on your friend Connor's hand. I didn't have a piece of paper, so I drew it when I saw it. And I mean, it was foolish of me. I should have assumed it. This seemed esoteric, occultish. I think, given the necklace and now this, your friend Connor is most certainly a whisperer. He practices the arcane. And I would be on guard. He's your friend. And I'm resolved to help you in your situation without prying into your business, of course, too much. But no one practices this without making a bargain. Being obliged to something. Not a person, but a thing. And he may understand, or think he understands. But we are not dealing with just Connor. We are dealing with whatever influence that the things beyond in the ghost field entities and power.
I know. Because Connor's the one who sent me to you.
About the girl that I saw. Or were you waiting for me at the fighting pit that night?
I hadn't quite gleaned the information from him when we met at the fighting pit. It was after, when I had to track you down. After Aldo's unfortunate accident.
He sent you. How did he? Did you tell him about when we met at the fighting pit? Or
I
was it
didn't know
just
your name.
he knew my name? Like what I blinder or my as your Arcady?
I believe he said blinder.
Okay. Oh well, that is at least some. What is going on here? I don't. This is. Yes.
Where are the two of you talking?
I would assume I'd taken him off to the side, probably in like one of the side rooms, maybe off in the kitchen.
Okay.
We didn't leave the bar.
Okay. Just checking.
You know,
I'll let you know when, but you eventually
Mhm.
hear Mercy enter in through the building, and she's laughing, having a good time. You hear your name mentioned in the other room, and you hear steps moving towards that back area where you are. So please continue your conversation, but just know that you will hear, like, give it a few seconds, and then say that's when you hear it and that sort of thing. So please.
What was Mercy's coming? This is deeper than I thought. I don't.
It
If-
is, and I have more information that I'll share with
Yes. I need time, and I need access to books. Hello, Mercy.
Hey, boys.
Like,
She comes in and she does this like big stretch in the doorway, like puts both of her hands on the door frame, like she's stretching in a weird way, you know, that sort of like you look at her and you're like, are you, you know, that kind of like, are you okay?
yeah.
So I was told we all need to talk, and we've got probably about an hour until Reaper is out of her mind. So talk now? Talk now? Talk later? What do you want to do?
Sure. You're
Okay.
in a very jovial, out of her mind. Oh,
She's going to be having fun, let's just say that, and we're probably going to go on a trip.
Okay. Yeah, no, best to get the business end out of the way first.
It's like, you know, like when you have like a nice warm soup. It's like that, except if you mix it with like being drunk, but not all the dizziness. It's just like woo, you know, like that's what it kind of feels like right now.
Okay.
excellent. I think I'll abstain after our last outing.
By the way, real quick, you two. I have no idea where Clyra is going to stay.
How much do you trust her?
With my life?
Why not put her in that extra room downstairs? I mean, that should be something.
I'll talk about it. I'll bring it up to the whole group.
Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, there's a number of individuals here who are being hunted, no offense. So I don't think picking and choosing necessarily is going to really matter all that much. As long as our, well, physically endowed friends out there don't find out. Because I don't know the limits of their trust or loyalties, but
they're loyal to Marlene. And Marlene is pretty loyal to Reaper, so I think they're pretty loyal. Maybe not to you, but to that.
Yes. Let's go.
So we'll make our way over there.
All right, so you guys are all heading back over to where Martin is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Martin and Reaper. Reaper's over there too.
Oh, I thought Reaper followed Mercy.
No, she stayed with Martin.
She stayed. Okay, so then Reaper and Martin were over there. Were you guys just talking, or were you just sort of chilling in the moment? And
well, we woke up, dude. We gave him the mushrooms, and we're just chilling.
Okay, cool. So then eventually, Blinder, Carver, and Mercy return to you, and they come walking in.
You see Martin intently working on some kind of stitching.
So we need to have a little chat.
Sure.
Yes.
About what?
I had a question to pose to the rest of you.
What's up?
Can we do it out of earshot of...
Yeah, that would be probably a good idea.
Good plan, says Mercy. And she grabs like a shitty thing of cloth, cuts some things, balls it up, and goes and sticks it into his ears. And it's like, yeah, if we go in the other room, you shouldn't hear it though. She does that thing that drunk people do where she's like screaming at the guy, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And he's just like, he's still like sort of waking up and stuff, and the mushrooms are starting to hit him, and he's like, like his pupils are getting more and more dilated as he's sitting there just like staring at her. Like, what is happening to me?
We have about we got about 40 minutes until he's should be loopy enough to answer my questions.
Me
Just
too.
remember, bud, we're gonna be having fun, no matter what. We're here and we're having fun.
Carver knows.
So we'll go off into the other room, I guess. So I have a question for the rest of you about where I might be able to allow Clyra to stay.
Who's Clyra?
A very good friend of mine. I trust her with my life. We've known each other since childhood.
I call dibs on your room. She could stay in your room.
I mean, are we really gonna let someone we don't know down there?
I wasn't
No,
gonna
I
just assume.
said his room, not down there.
We will have to. There are a number of individuals who Miss Clyra. I think it is a risk, but unavoidably acceptable risk. that there are extra rooms. As long as she doesn't go near the study, I'm fine. Although we should not make a habit of it, we do need to see the accommodations, and that does bring us to other topics that we should discuss. First, Mr. Carver, what happened? Your conversation, you found Mr. Connor, obviously. I'm assuming that was him in the park.
Carver, sorry, will received a letter. And he'll hand it to the group to kind of pass around so that they can look at it.
I see. And this has to do with the train and the reason why you're here and what. And you think Mr. Connor has found those individuals? Yes.
Martin, you recognize the name Mortis. You hadn't heard the name until now, and you recognize it as a purveyor, not to say a shopkeep, but he's a person who is sort of a big name in the black market of night market, known for being one of the few people that can get you some of the most strange and exotic goods, generally of an arcane nature, but still very, very rare antiquities, old pieces of art from the Deathlands, things of interest to high-end collectors and arcane academics, right?
Hey, I know this guy. Well, I don't know him personally. I've heard of him. This Mortis guy. Yeah, he's a. I'm willing to bet you, Blinder, you'd get a kick out of looking at his wares. He, I don't know. He's like reportedly, he's into that all that occulty, arcane stuff.
The one other thing of note that I will point out is that Mortis, there's a rumor. You've never met Mortis yourself, but you've heard of Mortis. You may have traded with a person who traded with a person who sold or bought from Mortis, right? It wasn't sort of within your wheelhouse to ever interact with him. But from the rumors you hear, he is Tycherosi. And not Tycherosi in the same way that Carver is, very slight. He is half Tycherosi, or like more of like, in a sense, the closest way I can say this is people believe that Tycherosi are descended from demons, and Mortis isn't, as in person, there's a rumor that he is the sort of Tycherosi that one would presume would be half demon. There are rumors that portions of his body are disfigured and monstrous. There's a rumor that he looks like a man, a giant snake shaped like a man. There are all sorts of rumors regarding Mortis, and those who have met him refuse to say.
Yeah, he deals in all that kind of stuff, and I don't know. He just sounds like a dude that would creep me out. Like he's like a snake man. He's like all disfigured and stuff.
That's good. That's good. Well, both for Mr. Carver and my benefit, I suppose. I would love to meet this individual.
I just know that he runs around in the deeper black market circles in night market. That's about it. Like I've never met him, but I've heard the name before.
So I'm gonna assume, if it hasn't already been inferred by the rest of you, that Connor set up that meeting with those individuals at his heel on purpose. I think he was leading them to me so that he could get closer to them as the letter indicates.
Or perhaps he's working with them, so under some false sense of false. He was maybe told them that he could lead them to you, and that is why he left so quickly, so you could make your escape. But to them, he would be proving something. It sounds like he's. I agree. We don't know. We don't have a whole lot of going to go off of, unless depending on what we find out from this individual in the next room. Which, thank you, by the way, Mr. Martin, considering my Well, it wasn't a request. It was just my opinions on the subject. But regardless,
Just remember what I said.
yes. We have a great deal to do. We have many decisions ahead of us. I think we find as much information as we can now about what has just happened. I will need time to research this. This was I had noticed a marking on Mr. Carver, and I did not have a piece of paper, and I drew it on my hand, mistaking I am a fool for even.
Carver had that mark on him, Mercy says.
Yes.
No, not me, Connor.
Connor.
Or
Connor. Sorry.
Sorry. C words.
Yeah, sure.
But Connor had this mark. I had noticed it. Didn't have a piece of paper, so I drew it on my hand so I could commit it because it looked obviously it's there. Details would matter. I suspected it was arcane, but and somehow I activated. I was a fool for writing it on my own person. I need time to research. I need a means of which to research, and we still need to prove. We still need to do the task for the bill hooks before we. So, I think we find out as much information as we can. We go perform the task for the bill hooks, get that out of the way, and perhaps even see a little bit of profit. So we can start seeing to our accommodations for all our gathering commune.
Yeah, about that, Mercy chimes in. I think I found an easy solution here that for some reason I feel like y'all are missing. Look at all the empty buildings around us.
Yes. I had the thoughts myself.
I mean, we could just, that building next door that's not open anymore either, next to the pub. Well, why don't we, when you guys figure out who owns the places, why don't we just try to sweep in, get a good price on it, buy it up, and then connect the two, right? And then we could turn it into a big, and if you wanted to hide it, you could say that it's a new tavern and inn, which is why it has so much space, and the people who are staying there are long staying guests or something, right?
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. My only concern was that we did not officially own anything legally yet. We still need to do that. But that will obviously take time.
Reaper has a wild look in her eyes, says Mercy. You doing okay over there?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Me and Mercy are going to go on a girl adventure tonight, just so you boys know. So I'm sorry to not include you, but it should be fun.
Before you leave, I would feel a lot more comfortable if one of you would carry one of these. And he'll pull out the pistol that he took from the guy.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of people following us, and both of you are going to be under the influence.
I'm not sure giving people who are about to go
As
off
you're
on
holding
an
the gun,
adventure.
Mercy, in a blink of an eye, none of you have really seen her fight. In the blink of an eye, draws a blade, turns it in midair, stabbing the end through the trigger hole of the gun, and then throws it past you. The gun leaves your hand, and the blade goes into the wall. I think it'll be okay.
Never
Fair
mind.
enough.
I ain't gonna fuck with her, man.
I'm surprised it didn't fire, she says, but she's now looking at it like, and it's like holding the thing, but it's hanging down. Oh, okay.
Oh, I emptied it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go get my stuff. Mercy says, and she walks out.
I will leave Martin to his task, which he's enjoying doing.
Actually, Blinder, I was hoping you and I could have a word.
Certainly.
Ooh, I want to hear.
I'm sure you do. I was going to wait until after you went on your adventure, but I can do this now.
Okay, cool, because I wanted to know.
Yeah. Okay, so since we're a crew, and to be perfectly honest, you meddle in the affairs of the supernatural, Blinder. You do.
Yes.
I want to know what it's like when you see the things you see.
What it's like?
As soon as he says that, Reaper turns around and leaves.
Sorry, Reaper.
It is depends. It's hard to explain, really. It's like hearing many times, but it's like seeing pain and death as physical things, hearing not cries of pain, hearing it. It's dark, and there was always a sense that you are in a room with hundreds of people that have no shape and are but they don't know where you are. It's always just beyond. You would turn your head and nothing would be there. It's just beyond your certain times, particular moments. If one is particularly close, a ghost, or I imagine it must be the same with other beings. Quite know.
I am more referring to ghosts as the things that we've been dealing with as of late until that happened to your hand. I don't even know what that is or what that did.
This is
I heard you explain that it was on Connor's hand. I don't know what it's about. I don't really care at this moment. What I want to care about is you said you see these things. You see death and pain as physical entities. Have you ever touched them? With your hands, like physically touched them? Are they solid?
Like I said, it doesn't necessarily work in the same way. They're both there and not there. You can both you could hear the sound and yet not hear the sound. Makes sense.
No, that doesn't make sense. How do you hear and not hear a sound?
Reaper will peek back in. There is a way to hit.
What?
There is a way to hit them.
There is a way to hit them.
There is a way to grapple them too.
When they manifest themselves. It's you're asking me to explain something that largely I avoid. And
whether you avoid it or not, it seems to be coming your way in droves. So we need to be ready for it.
Yes.
Or at least as ready as we can be. And that's why I'm trying to figure out what ways there are we can affect the spirits or entities that you may accidentally summon up.
Well, I do know all individuals can see them or be trained to see things, interact in very limited forms, of course. That is something that I can, I suppose, show you, although I do not think that you thank me for it once you did learn.
Would you be willing to teach me?
You wish, yes. Can do that.
Okay, well, we'll get on that after you're healed. How about that? Or maybe while you're recovering.
I need to find an individual I know who may be able to help me with researching whatever it is that is on my hand now.
Would be Mortis.
Mortis may help. I do not know, but this person I trust. At least enough
with
to give.
what I've heard about Mortis, more than likely he'd be able to help you with that.
Well, Connor, as the letter stated, is telling me to seek him out, so
No offense.
if we have to go there anyways.
As I said to you, Beck, no one uses this, including me, without giving over a part of their soul to something else that they don't understand. So you may trust Mortis, Connor may trust Mortis. The question is do you trust whatever it is that has claimed over him?
I trust Connor. I have no trust or knowledge of Mortis.
I have a contact who may be able to give me the research I need to find out more information. And if we find Mortis, I will inquire. But I know at least this person. I know what I can convey with safety.
May I accompany?
Sure. He's a little odd.
I have
and
I
he's
have questions.
And he doesn't have many friends, so he may be a little overeager to please you. He makes up things. He's kind of a liar. But his heart is in the right place.
So, the last thing that I will say is that Mercy looks over at Reaper and says, "These boys are always so heavy." And then she motions to you, and Reaper and Mercy go walking off down Pond Street. At the end of Pond Street, you see that there is a carriage. Not like a, fancy, schmancy carriage, but decent looking carriage. And the door opens and Malone LaRoche steps out. He bows to Mercy. My lady. And then motions you both inside. Mercy climbs in, like motioning you to jump in with her.
Ben?
And Malone steps in behind you, closing the door. And I think that is where we will leave tonight's game.